Hey everybody!
What up? It's us. We're gonna talk some D&D and other bullshit probably.
Oh my god, can I get
Um,
our little like DM stickers up here?
oh, dude, we got DM stickers?
Yeah, hold on.
You
Where are you,
guys are
Dylan?
in trouble.
Oh no, that's your actual character for for the second
Yeah,
campaign. Maybe I'll just throw that in there anyways, and then throw your like little tag in there. I heard a
yeah.
fart. Hey, Straz.
Uh, oh, do we have? I have so many fun ideas for the campaign. Some of it's gonna be spoiler-esque for your characters if you're listening, but nothing too big on the overarching plot because I don't even know what the overarching plot is. That's left secret to me.
I
Here
am
I am
so
playing with
excited
my
about that.
mustache, and yeah, so I have no idea about what the overarching plot is. I just have ideas for little plot points, and yeah, the Rose on the Piano sequel, which will have nothing to do with roses or pianos, but will still affect the world in a very similar way to how Rose on the Piano affected season one. So, yeah, we're gonna share all our fun ideas. So, who goes first?
Well, you can go first.
I go first.
I'm letting
Talk
you
about.
go first. I'm currently working on your images on your screen right now.
Oh, this is good.
So it says
So,
Lysandros and at Dylan Rune, so you can continue.
yeah, okay, I'm good to go. Good to continue now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's we've been bouncing back and forth a whole bunch of ideas on kind of where season two's gonna go, but also kind of how to connect things to the first campaign. And I had an idea that was actually a lot of this is a accumulation of ideas from a bunch of people in the party who have sent little messages and being like, wouldn't this be kind of cool? Wouldn't this be kind of cool? Um, and it really involves Ventry as a key point because I love the idea of having a blacksmith in the party. I think
Same.
that's such a
Someone to have a
cool,
profession in our campaign is actually like a really cool concept.
and I want to play with that. Is and so I had this idea of a set of mystical tools that if the party can gather, Ventry would be able to forge or rather reforge any holy artifacts we find into magical items instead of having them handed to us.
Right.
So we have to go on a mission before we can even get close to having any real solid magical goods. Any of the relics and any heirlooms that characters have from previous connections, in order to truly utilize the strength of those items, they need to be reforged. They're just a shell of what they first were. So to take an item, say a wand of detect magic, right? Maybe it can only work once before, it only has one charge left. So we got to be careful on using it. Or, it only has so many charges before it will finally cease to exist.
Right,
But if we
right.
manage to get the tools, we can reforge this wand into a staff that does the exact same thing, but it's also +1.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? And of course, there would be a cost in gold for the added resources needed, to reforge. It needs a diamond worth 5,000 gold pieces or whatever. But just add that layer, and just I think it might make the magic items feel more special because it's a team effort for every.
Well, yeah, it's more customized at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a little more personable
Hmm.
rather
Like I
than,
was.
oh yeah, you went to this shop and found this thing, rather than going to someone that you know making something that you want for you specifically.
Yeah. Like I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we turned the brass knuckles from season 1 into a set of guns for season 2? Right? The steel from the
Ooh.
brass knuckles has been smelted down and,
Right, but what
reforged
about the
into the
spell
barrel of a gun.
attached to them? Would that go
That's
into
why
the
that's
each?
why we would, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That's why we
okay,
would need the
right,
magic tools to reforge these artifacts.
right. So the
So you can
magic
take,
and each knuckle would be forged instead of knuckle dusters into guns instead.
yeah.
That's a pretty cool concept. See, that's cool. I like that. Dangerous though, based on those
Dangerous.
knuckles.
Dangerous. Right? Because they were cursed, so that curse would also transfer. But then you would have to think,
Right.
what would be the curse? How would that curse react in
And
these
how would
guns?
it differ between the knuckles and the gun?
Yeah, like
Like,
okay, cool.
would it just stay within the gun, or does it pertain to each bullet that's shot from the gun?
Yeah, right. Then we get to play with curses. What would be a fun curse to put on a gun?
True. When you look at the new animated series of
Yeah.
Vox Machina, Percy has a pair. Well, not a pair of guns. He has one gun that's cursed, and there's conditions that are put on the curse when you're using it.
What about it's a 6 shooter, and so your standard revolver, which would be the badass look I think we're looking that character's kind of looking for.
Right.
What if, like, if the last shot fires out of the gun, it takes your life essence. So you only get 5 shots,
Okay, you and I are on
right?
the same page because I was like, what
So you
happens
get
if
five
like the
shots.
last
So you'd
shot
have
is
to
like a
reload,
roulette?
right? Ooh, the same thing. Yeah, that last shot's a roulette.
Yeah.
And worst case, you roll a nat one, you're taking 50% of your health,
Ooh.
right?
Yeah,
So
see, in
it
my
never
head,
kills
I was
you. It
thinking
can't
the
kill you,
last
but
shot
it's
is a
only
roulette
50%.
where, like, you roll the dice and you could potentially die.
Yeah, I like the 50% health because
I do
it just
too,
leaves you
because
down.
I obviously go
It
to,
can
like, the
never,
more extreme.
yeah, it can never kill you, but that can screw you over in combat. So you have a choice. You take that sixth shot, or do you spend a turn reloading?
Ooh.
So it's
That's a risk as well, especially if, that
because
monster's
now you're
reasonably
taking your
close to
action.
you. Yeah,
Right?
you're taking your action to reload.
Or do you take that extra shot? Because that could be the difference between life and death.
It could, 100%. You reload in that.
Normal in a normal situation, it's not a big deal. Yo, gotta count my shots. One,
But
two,
in D&D,
three, four.
every battle action should be within 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, relative to
Hmm.
game time, it should be about 6 seconds, right?
So
So,
that's still the reload, right?
yeah,
It's a whole turn. But it doesn't matter if you're reloading 6 or 5, but that 6 second difference of that extra shot could
could
make or
cost you
break
your
in a
life.
boss fight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's just
I
one
love
role.
the chats that we're getting in the Twitch as well,
Yeah.
because
So I
obviously
missed some
Matt's
of it.
reading.
I minimized and I missed some of it. So you're
I'm
gonna have to
watching it.
read
I
some of
have
that out.
you here, so you and I are discussing, and then this screen here
Yeah.
is all of Twitch. Matt was like, or at least the radiant one that killed her, and then Straz was like, the last shot of roulette is a wild magic table on a wild magic table. Yeah, no, see, like you
Yeah.
go both ways. You take that action to reload, or is that last shot of roulette where you roll a dice and you could potentially die on your roll. It's
Yeah.
like
Like
it's
it's
so
crazy.
fun and crazy no matter which way we decide to take that on.
Yeah.
Which obviously you guys won't know the answer until the game starts, but these are
Mhm.
just potential potential ideas. Since this
Yeah.
is an
That was,
open table discussion.
yeah. Because I really love the idea of having to work for these different magical items and they all tie in. I like having that extra little step.
I
We get a
love
magic.
you go ahead.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
you go.
I just love the idea that we're gonna reuse some of the old items in from campaign 1 into campaign 2. Since we're using the same world, same people, it's just like in the future. I love that we can essentially forge down old items into new ones. It's a great concept.
Just destroy the historic relics. There's no.
But to refurbish them, you're essentially
Mhm.
thrift shopping and being eccentric with your thrift.
Yeah, exactly what it is.
It's
Oh,
a
look! We're digging into the grave. Whose grave is this? I don't know.
Ooh, I don't
You dig up.
know,
Oh, look!
but
She's
like
wrapped in a magic
also
carpet. What's this?
I don't know,
Let's go.
like say some of these items go
Yeah,
into the museum and
yeah,
some of our characters want them. Well, maybe a heist will happen. Who knows?
yeah.
And then how are you gonna create that magic item to be your own if you're successful on said heist? Like there's a lot of potentially great ideas to
Yeah.
come.
Mhm.
What's this? It would be fitting. How much shit did they destroy?
Hmm.
Yeah, well, campaign 1 was a lot of destruction. I mean, campaign 1 essentially I feel like where you guys all really began to bond was last year at Easter when you guys did the Easter one shot. For
Yeah.
those who were not there or available or were unknowing of the situation at the time, Bonesy, Creed, and Mystic were on an Easter adventure where they had to do a bank heist.
That's
Where
all.
where obviously they enjoyed discussing saving an orphanage instead.
That's also our friend anniversary with Friendster.
It's
That's when
true. That's when
Creed
you
and
guys
I,
all met.
yeah, and Shadow and I met. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big turning point for the campaign. And you guys did the bank heist. You were somehow successful, even though Creed was hanging by her tail off of a runaway cart, and there was a golem following you guys. And it was
Yeah.
pure insanity, but you managed it, and the campaign moved forward from there.
With us all being secretly filthy rich.
Filthy,
Like
yeah, you
the
guys were filthy
amount
rich
of
for a
wealth
while.
we had squirreled away
Yeah,
with
you
those.
guys just managed to somehow get around those bank alarms until the very last point.
Yeah.
It was
I
great.
think I think what really sold it was Bonesy on the hood of the carriage with reenacting scenes from Pulp Fiction is what really sold it.
And like the idea that
Oh,
Fredster had at the time with like just letting the cart run it through the doors, it was just like it was a brilliant idea between the
yeah,
three of you that just it resonated so well and it realistically would have worked so well that I just had to let it
yeah.
go forward. It was perfect.
Well, it was basically a movie plot.
It
Criminals
was.
drove their car into the front gates or the front doors of the bank as they were doing their like diamond transfer,
Yeah.
and we're just like, we've got it perfectly timed, and we're just like, bam! Nobody move!
And you guys killed it. Like just like there
We
was
took a
so much against you.
hostage.
You did take a hostage. It was really good.
That's great.
And then the lie that just continued from that, like you guys
Yeah, it was an
saving an orphanage.
orphanage. We
And
saved
the
an orphanage.
townspeople celebrated you, and that's why you're rich. Like it was brilliantly executed. It set a huge precedent for the rest of the campaign, that's for sure. And you guys actually managed to carry that lie through almost to the end as well.
Yeah, people had to go back and watch the VODs to catch us in our lie.
It's true. I enjoyed it
Oh,
a lot.
yeah,
I want more crazy stuff like that where we do special events and who can be there as part of that special event, who isn't, whether they
yeah,
watch it or not. No metagaming and just you know, you guys then have that special little bond, that little side quest that no one else got.
Yeah, it's good. Oh
What are
yeah,
your
we'll have side
plans
quests
for
galore.
what are your plans for Whisper Hills? Without giving away too much details, obviously.
Whisper Hills has become it's its own city state. The river is built up. It's been 500 years. You know, there was a war that happened, huge battle that happened right there. So they built up over the rubble. So the
Right.
rivers are now basically the sewers because it's built up over.
All right. All right.
And as it's expanded out, those rivers are now underneath the town. And everything's built up. Where those three towers stood that were connected, there's now a giant cathedral. And the whole town is built up into different districts around various uh, key features. So there's like the museum district, there's the chapel district, which is where the large palace is. It's one part. Imagine a massive cathedral with these spires, right? Three spires, and then in the
Right. Right.
center, a
I'm kind of
single.
picturing the Vatican, but continue.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly like
Okay.
a modified version of the Vatican. You
All
should be
right.
picturing the Vatican right now.
All right. That's
So there's
100%
these
what I was
three
picturing.
spires that go up, and it's all white painted marble because it's
The
you
Vatican.
know the Vatican.
Right.
The center is a um, kind of connecting the three towers. Kind of up in the middle is a short tower that has a stained glass dome, and that's kind of the central cathedral bits with the living quarters off on each pillar.
Okay. I picture that.
So a little bit kind of yeah, just this massive stained glass dome with a depicting the goddess of light and love in her various avatars. And yeah, that's where all the pews are and huge balcony like esque things because it's almost like a sporting event. The religion's just grown so much.
Oh, I guess after 500 years it would.
Yeah. So it's just like, a Sunday service being delivered by the Pope would be a huge deal. Like that only happens on like special occasions, right?
Right.
But when the
So
Pope makes his big addresses, millions tune in.
so the character in which you've created, Lysandros, he's not necessarily the Pope. He's just more or less a priest or a father of the church then?
He is the Pope, but he doesn't really like it.
Okay.
He's been he was adopted and forced into this position. Right?
Right. Okay.
He's so he doesn't need to be there all the time. Like, but he does have engagements he needs to be there for, and that's why he's able to go out on these adventures because it's part of his almost like his rite of initiation. He's in this position too early. Like he's not supposed to be there yet. But because his father was assassinated, he's prematurely in that seat.
Right. So he
Like
has
he
no
shouldn't.
actual worldly experience
Yeah,
whatsoever.
he's not supposed to sit in that seat until he's like 45, 50. But he's 26. He's still got another 25 years before he's supposed to be sitting there.
That's
But
severely
because
young,
his
yeah.
father's been assassinated, he hasn't gone on his pilgrimage. He hasn't done a whole bunch of these things he's supposed to do to truly be in that position. Does
Right.
that kind of make sense?
That makes sense.
So that's why he's going out on this adventure because he needs to. He
He
needs
needs
to
to
go out on a
understand the
pilgrimage.
world. Right. He needs to be
He
more
needs to,
cultured, more
yeah,
knowledgeable of the world, etc., etc.
he needs to be humbled. He needs to be. He needs to go out. He needs to find a child. He needs to find who he's going to adopt.
Right, because
Right?
the history of the family is
Yeah,
adoption.
yeah. So he
Right.
needs to go out and adopt. That's part of his goal here is to find the next living embodiment of the goddess of light and love. he needs to find the special child who will be the next pope. Kind of like how, uh, the Dalai Lama gets they randomly grab a child. Um,
That
I shouldn't word it that way. That's bad.
I was like,
Um, they randomly go grab a child. Um, kind of.
kind of. There's tests and stuff, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it's not as
they
simplistic.
do a.
But
It's
yeah.
not as simplistic as that, but it is very similar in the sense that it is a blessing to be adopted by into this position. So it's not like most
Oh, but
people
of course, yeah.
would turn it down, and it does come with significant financial rewards.
Of course, it's with its
Yeah,
perks.
religion and children. Religions love their children, don't they? Yeah, they do.
It's a
Um,
thing.
yeah. So he's got to go on this, spiritual mission. He's got to and adopt, find someone to adopt to take the next role.
Right, but also feels that he
And
needs to be cultured more of the world as well.
yeah, he needs to be
Okay.
humbled. He's spent his, from the age of, like, I think I had him adopted at about 4. From 4 till now, he's lived in this sheltered life, very much like Princess Jasmine in Aladdin,
Right, right,
and
right.
and
So
that's kind of
like a hierarchy,
mhm,
like raising.
exactly no idea of even the world outside of the within Whisper Hill,
Right, overly
right?
protected in the comfort of royalty necessarily.
But he does have a little bit of experience outside of that, and that's part of the backstory between Relara and Lysandros, because she started introducing him to the slums, right?
Because she started there herself.
Yeah, and so that's kind of his connection. He's he's. Did you ever watch Boy Meets World?
I watched a couple episodes. It was beyond my type of show to watch
It
at the
wasn't your
time.
level of sitcom. It was
I've never been big on the
yeah.
sitcoms.
It's
I
an
like the more
American
obscure
sitcom. It
shit.
was it was Ben Savage, right? Ben
Okay,
Savage's
yeah, yeah.
show, with Mr. Feeney as the weird principal that had like an unhealthy interest in Savage,
Right, okay.
right? That was the show. So Ben Savage plays this kid named Corey who comes from a rather well-off family, right?
Nice name,
But he
Corey.
has his friend Sean who's from the wrong side of the track. And so that's kind of the same sort of relationship that he and Relara have, right? He is taking Relara, and she now has a place to have dinner every Sunday night, and a support network that she wouldn't have otherwise. Well, Relara takes me out to a bar and will get me drunk meeting with regular people.
Right. So you guys accentuate one another by you
Mhm.
showing her a higher life or she's showing you a lower life.
Yeah,
And you guys both have an appreciation for each and kind of have like a middle ground between.
yeah.
Okay.
That we kind of, we've got our own sort of weird family vibe, right? Where she's
Right.
my sister, and she worships me like a child would worship her older brother,
Yeah. I
right?
understand.
Because
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
also, this whole concept of light and love. She's obsessed with in her own way. Yeah, and I like that idea, Fredster. TV reality
I
show
went to
where
go
we go
right.
find the next
LOL.
pope.
Yeah, no, I
I
like
like
it.
it.
It's it's fitting. It's essentially that, but in a D&D
I'm
fashion and style.
Yeah. I'm excited for the documentary that's clearly going to happen when the Dalai Lama dies, to follow and find the next Dalai Lama.
That will be an interesting one. And that will happen in our lifetime, I'm sure, as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, it's going to happen in my lifetime because there's no way the Dalai Lama's outliving me. I refuse to believe that one.
I don't know, you never know. They can live for a long, long time, apparently.
He was. He, He was a child in the war. There's no way he's.
You're like, no,
Yeah, no.
just no.
I am no. He's not outliving me. I need to see
So
that.
when it comes to not just Whisper Hills and Lysandros, I'm obviously interviewing you at this point. We have had a lot of talk about religions in our version of Wildmount, in our own Wildmount-esque ways.
Our broken because we broke the world.
We broke the world. We made
Level
it
of
our
religion.
own.
Yeah.
What? I mean, obviously, we're gonna add in a couple more obscure ones. I have some to add in
Mhm.
for you myself, but what is your like basis idea of the gods of our world? Essentially, what you have now, anyways.
Um. So that's the beautiful thing about it. My religions are based purely on hearsay and legend. So the actual reality of the gods could be completely different.
Okay. So
Even
every
within
township essentially could have
yeah,
their own belief system.
own little exactly.
Okay.
No different than how the world would have well, because we are entering into the Renaissance. So they would still have their own myths and folklores, right? Kind of like how you head into even though it's Christian in Ireland, they still believe in fairies.
Right.
Those
And
level
then
of
for like the more nerdy people like in Avatar the Last Airbender, Katara becomes the Lady of the Lake, which they
I
literally just had a goddess who was a goddess of that particular lake who kept it clean and kept that town
yeah,
fed.
and they would have their own little god, but they all would also believe in the goddess of light and love because there's that organized religion that you really don't want to befoul because they will put you on trial as being a witch.
Right. So say you were from a little town of Ailfield, um, and then you went to a more city like Burlebin or Whisper Hills, you would feel the more hierarchy religion there than
Yeah.
you would of, say, your little township of Ailfield maybe having like a rice field god.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's almost like you get your organ. Even in Alfield, there would be probably a chapel to the goddess of light and love, right?
Okay.
The concept would still be there,
Because it's a little more
but
organized of a religion rather than just like
right,
your
missionaries
faint
were
god.
sent out, and people travel, and this goddess of light and love, who is the manifestation of all the gods, because she is the fractured god. So
Right.
they accept that you have your rice field god, but you do realize it's just a piece of the goddess of light.
Oh, okay. Right, right, right.
Very
So
similar to when Christianity went into
I
Norway.
was gonna
It
mention
started
this. Go ahead.
it started off not that because they needed the Scandinavian muscle for the Crusades. They were using them as they're mercenaries. And so what ended up happening was, and that's why we still have the sagas of Old Norse today, is because it was Christian scholars that translated them and kept them written.
Yeah.
So and the key changes was no longer that your gods are real. Don't get us wrong, your gods are real. Yeah, don't fight us. No, we yeah our god. Yeah,
But
it's
your god
our
is a
god.
fraction of.
But your gods were made by our god, and that slowly evolved. And it's just
Right.
it was when you read some of the history on how Christianity absorbed other religions.
It was easy because
It's
they made a
fascinating.
hierarchy
Mm-hmm. Because it
of
would
the
be whatever
gods
the missionary,
themselves.
yeah, it's whatever that missionary felt like at the time,
Whatever best
right? As
suited
long as
how
you
they could
saved those
convert.
souls,
Yeah.
yeah, as long as you saved those souls, you did good,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
you guys are
So you can
warriors.
lie
We
to
have
them,
a
you can
god
cheat
that
them.
does warrioring.
Yeah, did we ever? And then they would tweak it, and then next thing you know, it's yeah.
Whatever was situationally best at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and then a few generations later, oh, they weren't gods. No, they were just they're historical figures. They
They were
were this, they were that.
prophets. They
Yeah,
yeah,
and then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so they would do the same thing. they would send missionaries out, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, your river god is real,"
All
but you
right.
do realize that's just a part of the goddess of light and love,
So the goddess of
and
light and love is obviously now going to be considered a more
monotheistic.
right. Do you have any other religions that are conflicting with that, or is that like the
Yes,
one essentially true religion?
there is, there are conflicting religions, very
Okay.
similar to splits in Christianity, right? We have the King of Burlden, who decided he wanted to put himself as the head of the church. Why
Right.
else would he be king? He's king because the goddess of light and love says he should be king. It was her choice. So
Okay,
I should be the head of the
so
religion because I'm the king.
we
Very
have
similar
both
to
I'm trying to look for the actual words, but they're
Catholicism and Anglicans.
yeah, so we're more or less uh
Yeah.
there is a potential for a war of religions essentially in
Mhm.
campaign 2.
Yeah. Um, and the key difference between the two religions is the one, Lysandros's faith is all based around the goddess of light and love. Goddess of light and love is the only true god. There is no manifestations outside of the other god manifestations, but she is wholly the thing that should be worshipped.
So the end all
Right?
be all is what
Yeah.
Lysandros is the goddess of
Yeah.
life and love. That's it. We haven't really
The only,
quite gathered what the religions are that the other players are basing their
no.
characters on, but Straz has hinted that he wouldn't necessarily be following that religion.
Hmm.
Is that going to affect how Lysandros views the other players or affect his
A
relationship
little.
with them?
A little, but only in the sense that he knows that all these other gods are just pieces of the goddess of light and love.
Right, right. So
So,
you don't believe in the goddess of light and love. However, what you're believing in seems to be a fraction of, and that's where his
yeah.
mind is going to go.
Yeah, and so he's okay with it. You
Okay.
believe in your, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, cuz that it's just an avatar of the goddess of light and love anyway.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
yeah, you're just putting in more work than you need to.
I'm really
Right?
enjoying the idea of
And
Lysandros, and like again, because obviously we're live and I'm essentially interviewing you because it makes it easier for me. What is Lysandros's connection? You do not have to share this if you don't want to, if it's too much of a spoiler. What is his connection to Sherlock Bones?
there is some spoiler stuff I'm not going to touch base on,
Okay.
right? Not while we're live.
Right,
But I
right.
will tell you right after the cameras turn off, I'm going to tell you
Okay,
because
awesome.
when you hear it, you're going to love it. Lysandros is the technically he's inherited that position that was given to Chip. So when Bonesy died, he left Whisper Hill in control of Chip. Chip then adopted a child, who then adopted a child, who then adopted a child, and after 500 years down the line, as that religion grew, that Chip started spreading, that and as it he was the apostle Paul, and everything kept growing from that, but from Chip to whoever Chip adopted, and so on and so forth down that line until you reach Lysandros, and he is after 500 years of he's basically the great 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 grandson of Bonesy in a weird adoption line.
Right. So family's family, whether you're
Yeah,
adopted or not, that's who you're raised by and that's who you love, right?
exactly.
So, you're right.
And so
Yeah.
that's the
That's pretty
line.
cool.
So he is a direct descendant, but he's clearly just he's not a Muppet.
He's just
He's a
another
human
human. Right. Okay.
with like
That's kind of
unusually
cool.
dark eyes. It's that's his description. That's why he was selected because he had you know, a birthmark. A slight. His eyes were extremely dark, so they kind of looked black.
Right.
Which
Something
is
that would
like,
more or
oh,
less
his
be
eyes look black in this light.
Bonesy-esque
He's
in
yeah,
some sort of way. Okay.
a so that's kind of you look for a sign. in the next adopted child, and it's however you choose to interpret that. So it could be, and that's why he was adopted into this, just because he was born with slightly darker eyes.
That's pretty awesome. And so, like,
Like,
you are more or less, because I had this discussion on, because I just recently did the 12-hour stream.
yes, he did.
Um,
Proud of you for making it.
Thank you. I did it. I stayed up a whole 23 hours. My God, it killed me. Saturday was a write-off. But we did kind of discuss and touch some D&D subjects. Obviously, I couldn't answer all questions.
Mhm.
Um, but like more or less you're the one controlling and creating the whole of Whisper Hills. Um, do you have any like ideas outside of Whisper Hills as to what you're creating, or are you just creating it, the Whisper Hills and the artifacts itself, or do you have any spoilers that you could tell us about Whisper Hills, which that obviously you and I can discuss after the fact, but I mean
Yeah.
like live on cam.
There's not a whole lot. Like at the end of the day, it's a functioning town that we can play with as kind of a base of operations. There's going to be, it's very large. It's a large town, like massive.
Did you
So
incorporate some of our old players' plans of
yes,
like things to leave behind, like Creed's apothecary and stuff like that? Did you add that into the township as well, or
yes, those are all dictated by the districts
that's pretty
because
awesome?
they are historical landmarks. So those are how the districts are kind of divided. You have off on the outskirts, or what would have been the outskirts at one point of time, is a whole district devoted to education and children, and it surrounds the location that the halfway house is located. That halfway house no longer exists, but where that halfway
Right.
house
So
stood
essentially,
is
that
now
would
a
be
massive
like
orphanage.
where Abraxas would have started
Yeah,
or created
her halfway house.
her halfway
500
house.
years later, there's a plaque that says this was this, but, it's been long knocked over. It's a large religious
Been
orphanage,
and
you
been
know.
recreated, but essentially that entire district has some sort of
Yeah,
connection to Abraxas and her character, how
exactly.
she left.
The location of the apothecary is now a thriving market. The, little things like that.
Which is pretty awesome. So that would be like anybody who went into that district would essentially know
Mhm.
the knowledge or and history of Creed, essentially.
Yeah. The location in which um Mystic set up her cottage. There's this massive rich district because, that family, you know, would have kept growing, and there's cousins and aunt
Because
and
Theolin
uncles,
was
and
destroyed and they were essentially the last family
yeah.
of, right? Okay.
But with the connection to the Earthen Slayers, they're like this legendary family.
Here's a good question that Fredster just asked. Are the Earthen Slayers' graves going to be in the church like a shrine?
That is a
And
great
Matt
question.
also said that was a great question. So
There is a mausoleum under the church, completely sealed off, which the um the center altar, the stone coffin that is in the middle of the church, is the supposed resting place of Bonesy. It's where Chip laid him to rest. There is statues all over the town that, supposedly that's where the yeah, that mad bird that I was rolling around with, yeah, well, when she blew up, yeah, that's where they put the statue. That's why it's there.
right.
But
So all
what is it? The
throughout
statue of a
Whisper
bird lady.
Hills,
Yeah.
there's going to be like little bits and pieces of the Earthen
Mhm.
Slayers, so they'll never be forgotten.
Exactly, because it's a key part of the religion. But overshadowing all of it is the goddess of light and love,
As
right?
Whisper.
Mhm.
Oh. I guess that slipped. As Whisper kind of essentially helped them all out, right?
Yeah.
Right. Spoiler alert that I just spoiled for those of you who
Yeah.
didn't know.
Whoops.
Yeah, hi. Remember Whisper? Because I haven't quite created or I haven't finished the video in which I was creating to give you the history, present, and future of. Hey everyone, Whisper was a goddess of light and love who fractured herself to create Bonesy to have a son, to have someone, because she couldn't quite remember who she
Oh,
was, as she was a fractured goddess out of a uh, hateful marriage, I guess,
yeah. Yeah, that's
as
the
most gods and goddesses work.
yeah. That being said, um the religion knows none of that. And so
Really? You're
yeah, the
not gonna
religion
add
knows
any of
none
that
of that.
history? That's
None of
kind of
that's in none of that's in the
wow.
religion. None
So
of that
is
is in the
there
religion. Because they don't know the truth. They
historically
don't know the
is
truth.
there
Yeah.
anyone that does know the truth in the future?
The
Since
yes,
you're the one
he
that's controlling the religions, I'm asking you as
yeah.
myself, but you could
He
also just
died.
wait until later.
Yeah, he died the one who knew the most died the same time as the King of Berlin. Or not the King of Berlin. Lysandros' father.
So they would have the knowledge essentially would have died with them unless something was written.
Exactly.
Right.
A young gnome, what's he a gnome? Who traveled with the party a little, a doctor, a professor of
He
sorts.
was definitely a gnome.
So he would have lived a significant length of time. I believe we figured out they could live upwards to about 500 years.
Yep.
Seeing how he was already, he was a younger doctor going on his adventures. So
Very
he would have
excited.
lived
Yeah.
quite a long time. And so yeah, he would
He
have known the
definitely
most.
would have
He
known the most.
clearly orchestrated a lot of the religion. Lysandros knew him. One of the reasons Lysandros became a cleric.
Right, yeah,
But
he would have still been alive for Lysandros
yeah,
to at least mentor for a little while anyways.
yeah.
Wow. Okay,
And because
so
of his relationship with Perry Feather, it might be the reason why he instantly took a shining to a gnomish, uh, vagabond.
right. So Lysandros then knows the truth of the religions and the truth of the history of
He does not.
Perry Feather didn't share that with him.
He did not because he wasn't old enough yet. He never finished his all of his rites and training because both Perry Feather and his father passed away before that was completed. So
So that knowledge is currently in limbo, missing,
yeah,
not yet found.
not yet found.
Interesting. Do you think maybe it's something that could be found in the future
Oh,
without adding too many details?
that's at DM's discretion.
Awesome. That's really crazy cool. I like the way that you've developed your character and the way you've developed this city.
Yeah.
Have you finished doing the map? Like obviously we saw some of the map. We did sneak
I've got
peek it.
the updated district map done.
Okay.
And then because I'm not much of an artist that way, so it's and this by and I figured by doing it in districts that lets you have a little bit of creative control over the battle maps to make it function for what you need,
Right, right. So
right?
I can add
Outside of
in
key,
buildings into certain areas, NPCs,
yeah.
etc. Okay.
That way you still control the city, but the core part of it is already designed for you to work with.
Which is
So
amazing. That helps me so much.
yeah, because
Thank
that
you.
gives you slums. It gives you slums to that we can play in. It gives you an upper class area to play in, farmlands to play in, and you can have sewers underneath. That's why the rivers are there. So you have like the sewers, and then you have sub sewers that can be more dangerous with the actual river. You can play with it. I've given you a big cathedral to play with.
Right.
I've given
For the rivers, you said you somewhat overtook them in the city. Is the
yeah,
city actually built over them
yeah,
entirely?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, entirely. So
Engulf them.
everything
Okay.
just kept building up, right? Just like how real you get random streets named Creek, and that's because the city
There's a
built over the
creek
creek.
underneath it. Right. Okay.
Same concept. These three rivers, you know, the and it forces so there's ports on each side of the city now. On the south side of the city, the northeast and the northwest.
Oh,
They
okay.
basically can control shipping going through for boats to.
So they've created it more or less like a canal. So the
There's
boats are still
oh
able to
no,
go
there's no
through.
canals. They have to unload, pay the people of Whisper Hill to travel it through the town to reload on other boats of Whisper Hill.
So they completely engulf the river. So there's not
Yeah,
even like a canal. So they actually have to like
yeah, pay the
trek
town to
things
transfer goods.
across. Okay.
They have to pay the town to send things through. And of
Got
course,
you.
it's a Renaissance area with no much tinkering. They might have conveyor belts that take it from one way to the other. That's
Or little airships or something.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We're entering into a whole
A
new
whole new
era.
era. Yeah, that is true.
I keep
Like,
comparing it to the Renaissance, and that's my own doing because of how I designed Whisper Hill,
that's
and
fine.
it
You and
makes
I will
me
go
think of the
through what the
Renaissance.
actual age
Yeah,
is, but I mean, we do have a character in which has guns, which
yeah,
is why the whole Knuckles being taken down to guns would
yeah,
actually work in this particular situation.
yeah. And I like the
Um,
idea of the Renaissance because so much was happening throughout Europe, right? There's so many like you had ages of enlightenment at the same time as other places having ages like being completely desolate,
oh yeah, entirely.
right?
And
It's
it's such a
such a
great
cool,
era as to where I personally feel like society itself kind of grew in like the entertainment side of things,
mhm.
where people felt they were also able to have more of a say
Yeah.
back then.
I
But at
mean,
least back
we're in a
then, like in real life back then,
yeah. And I mean, in a way, we kind of are in a very similar situation right now,
with
where
the
you have
pandemic.
these upper echelon people who are basically um, living a very high life at the expense of everybody else. You know, they're able to create art and beauty, but at what cost,
Yeah, true.
right?
So for us having a blacksmith in the group is actually going to be like super awesome because there's so many new things added to this era now that weren't there for our characters before.
Yeah.
Fredster, I feel like the Moonshine family would have their own family tomb within the church as per their importance in the area.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely probably would. Um,
I would assume so
at least
based
their
on the.
own wing, at least their
Yeah,
own wing in the mausoleum.
because the
Like,
family, more or less, was one of the last magical families of Fiolan, and before
yeah,
Fiolan was taken out by the Clovis Concord, so there would have been some importance to them in the relevation of the
just the
people
rebuilding of
against
society. Yeah,
people against like magic burning witches and such and what have you. So sorry, I'm going through my notes also. Are
yeah.
we gonna see a little more of like Carr's pub essentially?
And once again, that's DM's discretion.
Okay, awesome.
I
I'm
like
very
the idea that
excited.
it's so popular that it actually follows the religion. So any place there is a church for the goddess of light and love, you know, it's popped up kind of like a franchise. Somebody else opens up a version of it,
Right, because it became so popular. That makes sense.
right?
I like
And
that.
it's tradition, you know. You don't. It's not really part of the religion on paper, but it's one of those things like Sunday brunch. Everybody goes to Denny's after church.
Yep,
Same thing after.
or you go for your
Yeah,
Toby Carvery.
yeah, we go. People just, the common folk. They gather in the streets and whatnot, and they sing their songs, and then they go to the pub.
Fair. Um
And
I
whether or not
this
the church has a hand in that, and whether or not they're scooping funds off the top, who knows?
true.
That's there's a whole bunch of cardinals and bishops and things like that who probably are a little grumpy with this young pope who's hanging around with vagabonds, and he's not yet done his training.
Right. And speaking of grumpy people, do you think we're gonna see more of this one-eyed Clovis soldier? Obviously, it's gonna be 500 years in the future, but do you think that this one-eyed Clovis soldier will have some withstand holding upon the history of like Lysandros' family or Whisper Hills?
That's where. So there's two possibilities for who, or three possibilities on who assassinated Lysandros' father, right? And Perryfeather, because Perryfeather was there as well.
So Perry Feather, you feel, was also assassinated and didn't die of
Yes.
natural causes,
No,
right?
wasn't natural causes assassinated with Papa Lysandros.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Why is that terrible? Did you have?
Nope, I had nothing. I was waiting for
Okay.
you, but now I'm just writing it, and now I feel bad for Perry Feather because I
Yeah.
genuinely love Perry Feather.
Yeah.
Although the
Every
family didn't,
didn't, which is
for
weird.
some
I
reason they
thought
were
Perryfeather was
very
great.
suspicious of him, and I
Yeah.
thought it was really funny because it was, if anyone wanted to choose like the bad influence in the relationship between Perry Feather and Bonesy, it was
It was
definitely
Bonesy.
Bonesy. But
Bonesy
everyone
led
definitely
Perryfeather.
blamed Perry
Yeah.
Feather, and it was really funny, in my opinion, because he
Yeah.
was just genuinely a young doctor that was so intrigued by science, and he was so
Yeah.
excited about life and
I,
adventure that he just wanted to learn new
yeah.
things and didn't care
I
how.
love how long it took everybody to realize how much of a scumbag Bonesy was.
It took, everyone thought he
I
was
laid it
just
on so.
genuinely like an innocent child, and he was treated as such as well. And I just thought it was like kind of really funny.
I just got worse and worse, and nobody's corrected me.
The only person who even tried to go against the wave of Bonesy was Creed, and even then
Yeah.
she was very I don't know how better to word it, but she like pussyfooted around the whole
Yeah, she was still
situation.
sympathetic. She was the character was still sympathetic towards
Sympathetic is a
Bonesy.
better, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just writing down that Perry Feather and Bonesy were both assassinated.
Or not Bonesy, but Lysandros' father.
Uh, Lysandros's father. All right.
So there's kind of three. So with that assassination, there's kind of three possibilities. There's the common accepted story that it was just a tragic accident, carriage carriage crash. And a lot of people believe that.
So
Then
it was
there is,
a tragic carriage crash.
yeah. Now there's two assassination theories. One, that it was the king of Burlbin who had them assassinated in order
Mm.
to strengthen his hold on with his new religion.
And so you feel the king of Berlibin was going against the goddess of light and love?
He created his own religion around the goddess of light and love, very similar to how the King Henry VIII created his own religion so he could get a divorce.
Right.
It
Okay.
is the exact same concept. You know, the king wanted more power, and basically is like, well, the goddess of love must love me because I'm the king. So clearly she wants me here. So I should be the head of the church. We don't agree with you in how you view the goddess of light and love. Clearly, the blue prophet was more than a prophet, he was a divine being.
Right.
That's what the other church believes. They
So
believe in the
assassination one
divinity.
was King Berlibin had his own religion. So
Yeah.
like theory wise was
Yeah.
because he had his own version of he
Yeah.
he then took out these two who were going against what his views were. And the second assassination was
The second assassination theory is that it was the cult of the one eye. Now, the cult of the
ooh.
one eye, they believe that Bonesy was a wicked creature, and that the goddess of
Oh.
love must also be just as wicked, and that salvation was sent during the War of Nations. And so they wear a pendant with a one eyed squid. They
Nice.
believe that the Illithids are are there to purify and correct the world.
So
They
they
worship
essentially
them
believe that the goddess of light and love wasn't good, she was bad.
exactly. They are the opposing force. They believe that the Illithids were sent because the Illithids showed up and fought the Earthen Slayers, and they crippled the Earthen Slayers, but not enough to still win the fight of the War of Nations. But they
Right.
believe that the Illithids are underground, gathering their strength, adding people to their numbers. And we know the Illithids are because that's why a lot of the Drow have started moving upwards, which is why there's more Drow than previous.
That makes sense.
Why the dwarves are intermingling more. It's because the underground is basically where there's a current war. There's a war on another part of the world. Pope doesn't care. King doesn't care because it's not affecting their surface people. Yeah, they get
Right.
some refugees coming up every so often, but they're good. They're hard workers. They're just grateful to not be on the battle lines. Standard refugee
I'm just
situations.
writing a lot down. Helps.
Yeah.
Um, Crazy.
And so
That's a
that's
lot.
where a lot of the Rose on the Piano sequel is going to deal with. It's going to deal a lot with the
With the
cult.
underground cultist stuff.
Yeah. And that way, that gives Lysandros an excuse not to be involved because he can't. If he was anywhere near that situation, they would throw everything to take him out.
Right. So it's a
Because
huge conflict of interest for
yeah,
him.
he's the physical embodiment of Bonesy. He's the current prophet. He's target number one for the cult.
Right. Huh.
So he's not going to get involved. He's not going to touch that with the 10-foot pole. That being
That's fair.
said, the
Which
rest of the party,
that yeah, which means I'm gonna have to create a new character because Dindrain will definitely not be
yeah,
alive
no,
at that point in time.
no, you need a new character,
Oh
and you need
shit,
a reason.
son.
You need a reason to be against the cult.
Right. I'm gonna have to work on that one.
Yeah,
Ooh. And that being said, people being against certain things, we have a character in our new party that hates Drow, and we have a Drow in our party. I wonder how that's like. Do you feel that our races will be able to kind of like work together? Because I feel like in our new world, racism is kind of ex-nayed versus the religious war is kind of like more prominent.
yeah. The new divide, the new class divide, is religion instead of race. Very similar to the upper echelons are always playing with what should be the next fight. You know,
Right.
how do you keep the poor poor? You have them fight against each other. I mean, that's
That is true.
a a pretty basic thing. We still see it today in all over the place, right? You have billionaires paying off politicians on both sides, so it really doesn't matter. But you're still being fed a red versus blue fight every couple of years, every day, right?
It's true. Lord Blunt, if the underworld is going to be in the campaign, can Ganima's dad essentially be a part of that?
Yeah, I don't see why not. We're clearly going to tie random ass family ties because we're all orphans. There's
It's
going to be
true.
random family ties. There's going to be, um, and as we learn the characters better, we'll know better how to introduce this stuff or what will fit,
No,
right?
exactly. Because until like a lot of people are like, oh, what are your plans for some of my characters' background stuff? or changes. And it's like at this point, until I get to know your characters and how your characters are going to be played, I can't necessarily add things. Like for me to have added um, Creed to actually be a princess, I mean, look how long it took for me to develop that part of the
Yeah,
story.
that you didn't have the idea for that until a couple months after, and you weren't even 100% sure. You're like, I'm thinking royal family. I'm
Yeah, and
thinking, and it was like,
yeah, and it like I
do we?
needed it to work with the rest of the
Yeah,
story. And when I decided to do like the War of Nations in order to be like our end game thought, whether you guys were a part of that or not, essentially, it worked best with at least one of you having a standing with
mhm,
royalty to kind of like help push that forward. And the
yeah,
only character I could think of that left an opening to do so was Creed. I mean, to be orphaned into a magical school and not really know who her parents was, it made my life easier to just be like, ha, and then create this whole
um,
backstory which would help the War of Nations
yeah.
and you guys with it.
Now, now this is a question I have for you
Oh god, here we go.
because I thought it was heavily underutilized, and it's just the way the story evolved, right? And I'm just super curious about it. The Cerberus Academy.
Right. So,
I really want to revisit that. I love
um,
the concept, and I'd love to see more of that
I
and
did
where it
have like
evolved
a
to.
full story written. It's written out, like I have it, but because of the direction that you guys kept going in, it wasn't feasible for me to add it in, so I
Oh,
had to add in different things. But I do have a full Cerberus Academy thing written in here.
because
Where
I'd
is
love the
it?
idea that
Right
like they
here.
would have been after Bonesy like no tomorrow.
Yeah, so you and I are going to talk. I want to add in a little background that maybe String arose on piano when Bonesy wasn't around, maybe was dealing with some of this stuff. But you and I will discuss that and do some behind the scenes
Hmm.
stuff. But I did have some huge ideas for the Cerberus Academy that I want to push forward into campaign 2. And based on Creed's end game, when Creed was essentially jailed
Hmm.
by the Cerberus Academy, I want to elaborate on that slightly.
Oh, I just had a
Yeah.
eureka moment. I just had a eureka moment.
Okay. What is it?
Okay, so initially, like the jailing of Creed and things like that, um, the Cerberus Academy would have been in some deep shit with some very magical people.
Yes.
So they would have been kind of tossed around and beat up a bit, and would have needed to like be like, all right, to survive, we need to make a deal. Like, there's no way we need to survive. We need to make a deal. What if they wound up being the ones in charge of the museums and for Whisper Hill?
And it was the only way that they could connect themselves to
Yeah,
the
they
magical
had to make a
tools.
deal. They had to make a deal. They were being pushed out. We're talking, every generation they got pushed further and further out. And so they came arms open, being like, hey, look what we have to donate. Please, we know the history of this stuff. We've got this.
So they essentially, instead of having a power struggle, decided to just kind of join the powers
Yeah.
of
They're like, fuck it, let's assimilate.
Oh, I like that. But you know what?
Right?
I want to
So they
add
could
that.
still have they have like their own little cult within the religion. You
Could
know how there's
we,
like little circles.
you know how we're gonna have like a fence and like a thieves guild sort of thing?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the Cerberus Academy can split themselves and be somewhat assimilated not only with the higher beings,
Oh,
but their branch off is
they're
actually in the thieves guild.
yeah. They're the religious criminal arm.
Yes.
They filter money still back into the church. They take their share, right? But because they are the ones in charge of the museum. They're the ones that are sending adventurers out and stealing things to squirrel the way into the museum. How do those the artifacts get to the museum? Sometimes they're donated legitimately. Sometimes they're put in the secret underground vault, only to show up 100 years later without any paper trail.
Well, this is gonna be awesome. I'm writing it down. I feel like this is like a really good point for the Cerberus Academy because I wasn't really sure how to push them forward, but I did want to. So
So
yeah,
it could
so
still be
they're,
up to their same magical shenanigans, just
however,
under
it's
the
like
watch of the
kind of a
church and
front.
for the church. Yeah,
I like it.
the
It's written
church
down.
is
That's it.
yeah,
So they're criminals of religion. They have offense of their own, and they are a part of the Thieves Guild as well as. So when dealing with the Cerberus Academy, I'm
you
not.
are you're
We
dealing
got an
with the church.
applause here
Yeah,
from Lord Blunt. But so what I'm
nice.
thinking is like Maya, essentially one of our new characters, wants to be a part of the Thieves Guild, although a bit too young yet to join it, could be essentially assisting the Thieves Guild by going through the way of the church in through the
Yeah,
Cerberus Academy that way.
and that's why she's picking Pope as a target for it to steal from. She wants to
Right.
con him so that she can prove she's worthy to be
Part of
in the
their
Thieves Guild.
under part of the
Yeah,
Thieves Guild. That's a great. I'm sure Queen will watch this later, but I'm just gonna put Maya in here under my notes as
yeah,
well for all of that.
but yeah,
So we will have a Thieves Guild. I'm really excited about, and we'll have a fence. We'll have to come up early with a really cool NPC for that. Someone unlike Chippy Joe, who I did not like playing.
Um, what about like a set of goblins? It could be the
Ooh.
descendants of my Matt Berry goblin because
Oh
they would have
my
still been
god.
around because
They
that family
would
still
still
would have been
be.
alive. Yeah, because they're like, we've been given all sorts of perks.
So like Yobiz's like underlings or
No,
sons or something.
yeah. No, not Yobis is wiped from existence. This is the
Oh, the
that
other part of
bartender,
the family,
the
the
bartender's
bartender's
family. Yeah,
family.
yeah, the bartender that they just beheaded and set on fire. Yeah, his family. They're still around. Those goblins, that goblin line is still around. I need to bring up my notes to remember his name.
Yeah, I want to write it down. I have goblin bartender and I have like an
Yeah.
asterisk underneath. What do we have here? Uh, Straz, I could easily see Maya as an arcane trickster rogue with that. See? Yeah, see, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So we have like it. I just want to tie in the past to the future and then have like it develop like what we did with like campaign 1. A lot of new things developed continually and I just kind of let it kind of go cuz I really I
Yeah.
like that you guys create your own stories within a story that I created. It really is awesome. So far we have Lysandros, he's 25 years old, priest, Bonesy prophet. We have Relara, 23 years old, a gnome rogue. We have Ikara, 2 years old, which is considered middle age for her. She can't fly, although she does have wings. We have Ganima, he's 19 years old and was adopted from the Abraxas orphanage. We have Anya, 421 years old, likes to manifest as her brother. We will touch base with that a little further when the time comes. That's up to her to divulge. We have Sunlight, also known as Sunny, 19 years old. She's a very tall, red-headed, turtle half-blood human. We will have a Gavin, who's from Dunrock Mountains, heavy drinker, age unknown, dwarven. We have a Maya Drow, 15 years old, well-known thief. And that's so far, that's all our characters.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot actually. Now that I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah,
7, 8.
we've got
Ooh,
10.
we got a
There's 10
big show this
characters,
year.
wait, including yours. Like it will be a full screen. Lots of ideas getting thrown into it. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, and campaign 2, although I'm not finished writing it yet. Our first Easter adventure, which marks like the 1 year of like our biggest,
Yeah.
best event where everyone became the closest and we started actually really getting into it properly is like that's when we're starting campaign 2, and I'm super excited.
It's a little bit off because we did say that was the Easter weekend, but Easter weekend was earlier in the year.
Yeah, it was technically
So
like this weekend last year,
yeah,
but it
last
always
weekend.
moves, so Easter is
Yeah,
Easter.
yeah, it's good,
Yeah,
poetic.
I know, and I still have a lot of writing to do. And now that I have this like extra knowledge, it's gonna help me put some extra
Yeah,
little things in. And for those of you who are unaware of the past, there's certain areas of the map that are no longer available. But not only that, for those of you who watch and you see when we throw up a wild mount map, yes, I'm using a wild mount map for our campaign. However, I've written my own stories, my own NPCs and
homebrew.
shops. It's a very homebrew use of Matt Mercer's wild mount map only because I just didn't have the time to create a map. So we're just moving campaign 1 500 years into the future using the same map with some additions being Whisper Hills, and I will be adding in a couple other little extra towns onto the map.
The the crater that once was
Which
Phelan.
once was Phil, and which 500 years in the future will have developed into something new, which will be a surprise that you guys will
I
see next weekend.
Yeah, so I'm
Phil
excited
will
for that
probably
because I
see it
have
sooner.
like yeah, I do have ideas for it
I have
to
very
maybe give it a
minimal
little.
ideas, but I do know
Okay,
that I want to evolve it into something.
when you I'll give you my idea on it, and I'll
Okay.
give my idea here, and then you
All
can
right, and
surprise
then
me
I
if
can
you
adapt
decide
it
to use
whether I
it,
use it or not. Right.
or yeah, you can surprise me because I like being surprised as well. But
I do like surprising
it's
you guys.
essentially where the cult of the one eye is because it's a giant crater where the Illithids crashed in. That was the meteor that took it out, was the Illithids landing. So it's become very similar to Game of Thrones with the Wall of the North, where they've blocked off large sections of it, and it's almost like a continual battle with the Illithids. Either that or it's like a town for this cult and they just offer offerings to the Illithids, dropping them down into these pits.
Okay.
So either constant war or human sacrifice is really my my two ideas. But I'm leaning towards human sacrifice.
Right, right. So, oh my god, hold on. Let me pull up the map. So, that would mean,
Yes, the squid monsters were summoned by Yobiz.
which I like, because I like keeping a little
That was
tiny
the
history of Yobiz around.
yeah, that was the journal that you guys were reading.
So, essentially, the Menagerie Coast then would be run more or less by the Illithids, which would break the mountains. The mountains would break between where the Illithids were and were not. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
like, I'll
and
put it
so
on the screen.
the Illithids go underground, right? And so there's only really the crash site and then like little pockets that they would pop out of. But um they're not ready to make their big assault on mainland yet. They're still the Illithids are still constantly battling the drow and the dwarves and other creatures underground.
Right.
Not quite ready to um
Oh my
make that
goodness.
attack
All the
on the
things to.
surface. But there is human cults that worship these things. Very
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's my thought there. So where the town once was, it's been rebuilt kind of for this cult. And
Yeah,
they
because
just
Fiolan is like
yeah,
here by the mountains,
yeah,
which is now a crater. So the crater was created by the Illithids, and they would
yeah,
slowly have been taking over the Menagerie Coast over the course of the last 500 years.
yeah.
That's not like the worst
Well,
idea, actually.
maybe not really the surface as much as like the surface has like the cult, but like the Elliptids are underground, and the
Right, right.
cults, they don't necessarily they rule in shadows, like, and they hide in the dark places. So the actual towns would be regular towns, but that little village on the outskirt, it could be just a regular old village, or it could be a weird culty village. There's weird cults,
Okay.
right? Kind of Lovecraftian Massachusetts, right? Yeah, the
Uh,
big city, there's nothing weird going on, but the second you get a little bit out of town, where the forest grows just a little too thick, you
yup.
got some weird ass people. You've got some weird Northern Ontario folk up there.
Hey, whoa.
Hey, to tell me you guys aren't in some big weird cult, and I know it's a lie.
Oh, yeah, no, can't deny that actually. But, uh,
So
Lord
can you?
Blunt, did we ever find out who summoned the squid monsters?
Yeah, that was Yobiz. That was the journal Yobiz wrote.
Yobiz was a notorious
Yeah,
mastermind. I
we don't
loved
know who.
Yobiz.
We don't really know who. We know who kind of hired Yobiz, because it was but the details of which are who knows, and probably will never be known. There's now squid monsters living underneath everybody. Deal with it.
Over the ages of 500 years.
Yeah,
Stories get mixed up. Never know.
fucking squid monsters.
Fucking squid monsters, man. But we will, I'm excited about that then.
Hmm.
So, 500 years in the future, and all of our things and our people. I obviously can't go into my story because my story starts as campaign 2 starts.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any ideas for outside of Whisper Hills?
Um, Outside of having like little churches popping up that of the goddess of light and love, the underground is really where I've been putting a lot of my thought,
Okay.
with just because my biggest focus is going to be Rose on the squid monster stories,
Right, so the rose on the
right?
piano, since I'll be
Yeah,
running more or less the entire like main campaign, so you're focusing on
yeah.
the
I'm
side
going to
quests
focus
of
on the side quests, which take us right back to the Menagerie Coast,
right.
right? Well, you're able to push us further inland to the other areas and explore new. So I'm just going to really have Lovecraftian, yeah, it smells fishy situations, because I love that genre. And so I'm going to squeeze that genre in. And we all had a blast doing Shadow over Innsmouth.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So I think if we can keep it a little Lovecraftian, toss in some Lovecraftian culty stuff in using the Elithids, let's do it. Right? The Menagerie Coast is the
The perfect
they
place to
lost the
do it.
war. They lost the war. They're in shambles. So the cities that have popped up, they still exist. The cities still exist. They lost the war. They're on the poorer side of the continent, but there's still going to be rich hubs, especially along the coast. But there's also going to be these really weird small towns. That are they culty, or are they just weird?
Yeah, and
And
it'll
you
be
won't
up to the
know.
character. Then when the characters get there, they can either investigate that or ignore it and do as they please, I suppose.
Yeah. Is there going to be?
Or season 2 of
Uh,
that is coming. Oh, with Squid Games, right. I was like, what? That has nothing to
yeah,
do with us.
yeah. We're
Um,
playing Squid Games. There's going to be Squid Games.
I'm so freaking excited. So, um, Whisper Hills, you would say, is like a race-friendly
Yeah,
metropolis,
yeah. Everybody loves everybody. That's part of the goddess of light and love sort of thing,
right?
right?
So we can expect a lot more drows in the game or
Mhm.
in that city, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Maybe more tieflings as well.
yeah. It's a very open to love in all of its forms.
which is awesome. So that creates like a huge safe place, which means I get to open up a lot more races and character development when it comes to like the whole of the world, which, as
Yeah.
most people know, we've barely touched the surface of Wildmount. I mean, we went from Palmaflora to Port Damale to Fioland, Port Zune, down to Nicodranus, and then you guys went up to the Weun Gorge to Trossenwald, Alfield,
Mhm.
up to Burleben. I mean, the furthest that you guys ended up going up north to the map was Blooming Grove, but you guys never went to Zorus. You've never
Never
really
went
went
up the
too
island in the north.
far.
Didn't
Nope.
go didn't go anywhere really outside of the greenery and forest.
No, so the
So it's
graying
going
wildlands, the easel croc, like all of that's so untouched. Even
and
like the frigid depths and even beyond the other side of the mountains of the Menagerie Coast, you guys have never even been.
and we've got so much the other area, like the whole underground, the mountains, right? The dwarven temples, none of that's been touched. So there's so much that we can still explore without, like, a lot of mine is going to take probably up to the, like, past Phelan up into the north of the Menagerie Coast, like the real cold port depths of it.
Like up to like
Yeah.
Guardian and the ruins of
Yeah.
Sepisa and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Because those
That
are all going to be, especially the ruins, because that's a definite access to the underground,
oh,
right?
definitely. Yeah, because
Which
when
is
you
a
guys
little
went
safer
into
than,
like Talonstad into the mountains and you guys met some drows, I was really hoping that you guys would continue towards Blightshore, but instead you guys just blew up the mountains and got rid of that walkway
yeah,
entirely.
yeah, we wanted our treasure. We wanted our treasure and we ran. Yeah, we wanted our treasure and we ran.
So all of those
We took
dark
our
lands
treasure and
are
we ran.
like really open to communication now because Whisper Hills is right beside the Ashkeeper
Yeah,
Peaks.
just this
So,
massive religion that started sending out missionaries. So there's part of the reason everything's so open is because these missionaries went out being like, "Yo, light and love." What do
and
you
like,
mean? What do
yeah,
you
and
worship? What do you worship? You worship like a giant stone monolith thing? Oh, that's awesome! That's just a gift from the goddess of light and love. Yeah, oh, you didn't hear of the goddess of light and love? Do I have news for you? She loves you just the way you are.
and the
You know
goddess of
that?
light and love is accepting of all races and
Yeah,
beings and religions, which is really nice, which is another reason why I created Whisper to be the way that she was, like just loving and caring and just wanted to help everyone. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how you develop that religion throughout the
yeah.
whole of the world, especially with Lysandros.
Oh, it's mostly just a way for men to oppress women. It's
Oh, that's
organized religion.
usual.
It's yeah. There's a whole. When think of these missionaries going out there being like, think of how easy it is to brainwash young men this way. Yeah, you can go out and your
It's
dick's
like back
magical.
in the day of World War One. Do you want to be a
Yeah,
hero? Join the
you want to be a
war.
hero? Come
Yeah.
on. Yeah. Not only that, that French nurse will totally blow you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Um, as far as like other characters and what they left behind, I'm just going through my notes slowly but
yeah.
surely. Urian, obviously his character won't necessarily be alive during campaign 2, but do we feel that Luna, his sister, who is quite young at the time, will still be relevant in campaign 2 and or Whisper
It,
Hills?
it's
Or
hard
is
to
that
say.
something that we should
Um,
just keep a secret?
I think that's definitely a secret. I don't know how much of a role she would actually have being in the you know because she didn't play a whole lot in the first campaign, but I think the legend of plays more of a role. But then I also thought, wouldn't it be cool because she's old, she knows about it, but she was so young she didn't fully understand. But she could be like,
A prophet of a sort?
yeah, kind of like the sea witch we would go see for advice. She knows stuff, but she speaks in riddles type deal.
Right, after. such a hard upbringing as a child with traveling with the Earthen Slayers of all people. Seeing the things that you've seen as a child with
Yeah.
those people would definitely
Yeah,
traumatize you.
right.
Um,
And it could be fun having some of the NPCs be throwback characters like that.
oh,
But
yeah, definitely. Like the Bob Snoppers,
mhm,
obviously Sheila and her husband are going to be dead, as well as the woman that Bonesy laid with will not be alive anymore. But I'm
yes,
sure
the
the
Night Watch. The Night Watch, definitely she could be running it.
oh, 100%. Like having the
Like,
Bob Snoppers as a
yeah.
part of that like family that continues to move forward as merchants and part of the storyline I love.
See, I was gonna lean heavily on the Night Watch with the in the squid storylines, because they seem like they would be the ones that would be like, you know what, we need to get rid of these fucking things. They
Sorry, there was
are,
a fart and I'm listening. Sorry.
yeah. And that's where the sister comes in as almost the spiritual advisor for the Night's Watch, the more than the leader, right? Kind of the matriarch of the group, just dispensing like grandma wisdom.
Right.
Love the idea of just grandma wisdom. Just, Kathy Bates is there and she's telling you to go out there and do your best.
Just
And I
don't
like
break your
that.
ankles. Yeah.
Just just take this bat, take this sledgehammer, and just tie him to a bed.
And like obviously Mystic's family is going to live on through a descendant since
Mhm.
the character Sunny that we will know is a direct bloodline of Mystic herself, which is really cool. I'm excited about that. And we're going to have new races in this. I like cuz we did touch
Yeah.
characters a bit.
And we do have access to a ton of stuff.
Oh hell yeah.
Somebody, we won't name name, just keeps buying
Dylan.
books. Um, on D&D Beyond. So as they get the new releases, and I like the digital setup. It's nice.
It's
It's nice
really
having
nice
everything
actually.
together. And so I source books. I think we have all the source books. Um,
Whatever is available right now we do
yeah,
have. But we
I
have
think
like
I've got everything.
Akara the Trigger.
Yeah.
She's I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of this. I'm just telling you in advance.
Yeah.
And Era Ericra. It's a bird
Yeah.
person. There we go.
Bird people.
Bird person, bird people. If you watch Rick and Morty, I'm just thinking bird person. Anywho,
Yeah.
but a female and more
Yeah.
intelligent.
So many races. Like,
Yeah,
just
and then we
a ton.
also have in our group a Loxodon because
Yeah.
Vetri, who is our blacksmith, is a Loxodon, which is like essentially a elephant person.
Yeah.
And we have like
And
an
like just
elf and a half elf and a dwarf and another elf and a gnome and a human. And we have like
like
an array of races in our party this year.
yeah. Yeah, and there's so many fun. Like, we've got the stats for, Furblogs, Gith, the
Well, we had kind of a fur blog in
Paragon.
our
We've got
last.
Paragons. We got Rabbit People,
I have so
Kenkus,
many choices
Kobolds,
to make to surprise you
Lion
guys
People.
for the first rose on a
We've got
piano.
Leonins, however you're supposed to pronounce that.
Okay, Straz
The
said
Lion
Ara
People.
Coke Kra. Ara Coke Kra. Oh, well, look, I said it.
Arakokra. Like it. The mystery book daddy.
That's you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we have a lot of races that we can introduce to this campaign, which is really fun.
Hmm.
And yeah, my mystery character is gonna remain a mystery until the very first rose on a piano.
Yeah.
But I'm really
I'm
happy to
excited
have the.
for it.
I'm excited too. It's gonna
I'm
be
gonna
great.
I'm gonna help you brainstorm so it works really well with everything.
Oh, of
Because
course, because I love being a Catholic of chaos, Dedui.
Yes, lots. We are the rails that keep the train on track. um, we
Kind
don't
of.
we don't railroad. We just have conversations, so we know which way to lean things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But like, I'm excited to see because campaign one was a rough start, and we obviously went through a lot of different players and characters and stuff like that. But by the end of it, you guys became a pretty tight group, which I was really
Yep.
excited about. So to have these new players in our campaign who we've already played other games with, I'm really excited to see all these new stories. And campaign 1 was the first time for some of these people to even play D&D, or their first time to play D&D in a long time, or their first try at a 5 or a 5th edition. So I'm super excited for everyone to now be fully comfortable and develop everything. And I'm personally, because I'm writing the story, I'm excited to see not only my story develop, but all the stories that you guys have created to develop within that story.
Yeah, and actually, Strats is bringing up a really good point. He has a backup character, a Bugbear Paladin. Yeah, that is a good idea. Always have a backup character
Always have a
because
backup character. Whether
the
we
odds of it,
intend to or not, it's all up
yeah,
to you and your roles.
like I don't think we'd ever be in a situation where we would have a total party kill. But the reality is, if a character dies, we will try to fudge things so that you don't die. But you roll two nat ones in a row, there's very little we can do.
No, that's true. If you like fail all three of your saves, I literally can't save you at that
Yeah.
point. And
Like
it sometimes happens.
maybe like if we have clerics with being able to resurrect, yeah, sure, but you know,
Roll of the die
you
is a
die,
roll of
you
the
die.
die. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have come so close to dying myself, and I'm just like,
yeah,
but that's the way the dice rolls, unfortunately. Like, we can only fudge so much, right? So, and
yeah. My
I'm not
backup
gonna
is
fudge your roll for
no,
you. What's your
my backup.
backup?
My backup character is a bard based off of Eric Zahn, so he's not a horny bard. He's a very depressed and creepy bard.
Oh god.
He is he is a creepy, creepy, creepy man.
I don't even have my first character created yet, so I have no backup character. I'm literally working on the task at hand, which is making sure that campaign 2 has an amazing start, an amazing story
Yeah,
to start, because I want to like build this amazing intro for you guys to just come in and have like a full picture based on what I'm imagining slash what you're imagining for Whisper Hills, which is why I asked so many questions, because I'm like, I
oh
want to be able to create the perfect scene for you guys to open and walk into
yeah,
and be a part of.
yeah. Like I'm still letting you have this creative control, but I do appreciate you letting me put my input in
I need
because
your input for this city. I
oh
need it to, because I want to create the
yeah,
world, and you've created this like town that everyone's gonna be like. That's the base, like home
yeah.
base, is Whisper
Well,
Hills.
it's great because that lets you as a DM, you can choose to have a big, expansive, explore everything campaign, or you can have a deep dive into a single town campaign.
Yeah,
It frees up, and we can go back and forth, and we can have adventures on a foreign land. And then when we come back to Whisper Hills, there could be internal struggles that we need to take care of. The museum district we need to steal something from. We need to go to the apothecary district, and because there's
right. And
herbs being smuggled in that are causing people to die, or we could go. It gives you that fluctuation to have little one-shot adventures that
yeah,
are set at home.
and it gives like, and that also opens the ability for like Vetri to be back at his blacksmith shop
Yep.
working. It opens the opportunity for Maya to go back to the Cerberus Academy, report back. Relora and Lysandros get to go back to their home base and do some work. Like, it opens up the opportunity for you guys to quite literally have like a home base and a
Yeah.
hometown to, you jump back and forth,
Yeah,
but it I
and
can
it's
have like a place of comfort for you guys at all
yeah,
times.
instead of playing things happening one after another, like in the first campaign, we can have downtime of a week, a month in between, kind of like how we had that 6 month time lapse where all we
Yeah,
did was we kind of chatted about what we did and we rolled some dice to see how it went. We can do the same thing on a smaller scale. We go on a mission and we uncover an artifact, and then we don't go on another mission for a month. What did we do during that month?
right. So Lysandros would have been doing something with the church.
Yeah,
Valora would have been helping Lysandros. Maya was probably stealing things and securing things for the Cerberus
yeah,
Academy, whereas Vetri was working in the blacksmith. And like it opens up so many avenues for all of you because I don't
yeah,
want it to be. I don't want campaign 2 to be like campaign 1, similar but different. Like I want to focus a lot more on the character than the character developments within the story instead of the story itself.
yeah. And so that gives us that opportunity because now, you know, mission one, um, we noticed two players worked really well together, and so now they're off doing something that week,
Yeah,
right? Kind of like how Bones, he would go through waves with who he would pick on that week, and he would be super buddy buddy with. He'd be super buddy buddy with Carr, or he would be super buddy buddy with Creed. He I don't know if you noticed that he kind of bounced who he was super close with each time,
yeah,
and
he
he
always
built these
had like he
individual
would always attach
relationships.
himself to like one
Yeah,
person and do an adventure with that person and then attach to the
yeah,
next and do an adventure with that person. And
yeah.
I like
So
that. It
kind of
gave
do a
you the
similar.
personal time with each person.
Mhm. Yeah, so you have that one on one between each of these characters. And after a round of one on ones, the reactions when you have your next one on one will be a little bit different.
Yeah, because you guys have
And
grown
then,
as not only
yeah,
as a team but as comrades in your little
and
one-on-one times that you've had with one another, which is really nice because like everyone in our group right now essentially has like little connections with one another. Like Lysandros and Relora are
yeah,
are knowledgeable of one another, and then there's like uh
Lysandros and Sunlight have a connection because
and
they,
Ganema and
yeah,
Anya have a connection, as well as Gavin and Vetri
yeah,
are drinking buddies.
Lysandros and Vetri because the staff or the mace that Lysandros uses was actually made by uh, Vetri's teacher in Whisper Hill,
Yep,
the
and,
man
and
who he inherited the
Maya
shop from.
Maya's a known thief and has may or may not run into you and
Yeah.
or Vetri before. So the fact that you guys in this campaign have created characters that have kind of intersected with one another is really nice because when you guys all come together as an actual party, if you guys haven't met one another personally, you at least have some knowledge of maybe not their name, but of their or characteristics.
Yeah. There's a web.
Yeah,
Everybody is connected in this web,
yeah,
which works really well.
yeah, and
I
some of
mean,
them have a deeper history, which we will
mhm,
learn as our campaign continues, obviously,
yeah.
which I'm aware of those personal connections now, but it's really nice to see like there's a deeper history with everyone that might come out right away or it might
Mhm.
take a while, which
Yeah.
is exciting. I like that sort of shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like I like stories and creations and character development. And I like it to be like a slow progression, but that's how I am with films and TV as well.
Yeah. Same. I love the slow burn.
Yeah.
There is nothing better than a slow burn.
No, if you give it to me all at the beginning, I'm just like what's left to give at the
Yeah.
end sort of thing.
Yeah. Like all
And
this stuff we're talking about now is all like early stuff, like the first quarter of the campaign.
yeah,
Like it's the best part is like because it's going to evolve so much and it's all going to go off rails probably by episode two.
100%. You guys take things
And
off
it's
the
going to
rails
be
all the
great.
time. Like I'm going to have this full story developed as I did with campaign 1 and we might use like maybe a quarter of it where then I'm improvising like the the other three quarters, which I had to do with campaign one, which is fine because, as I've said before, like if you guys had followed my rails, it eventually would have been boring for me because it's so predictable at that point. Whereas like, oh, you guys are doing everything that I want you to, la la la. I'm just gonna follow this trail. Like you guys throwing things off helps me stay creative and on my toes, but also it's fun because you guys created some shit that I would have never thought about.
Yeah.
Like Bonesy and Whisper creating an imaginary jail cell for everyone definitely wasn't in my fucking gameplay, but it was amazing.
Because it was just a little way to show how much power she actually had, right?
True.
Or that they actually had together, right?
Which is
And
funny that
it's
no
such a
one
little
ever
hint. It
guessed
was a hint
her.
towards the truth without giving away too much and just being a complete
Yeah.
mind fuck.
And like I think it's really funny after that point that no one ever really considered how powerful she really was. And still like even up until the end, even like our very last episode, no one guessed that Whisper was actually the fractured god. Everyone considered it to be you, like
Mhm.
Bonesy, which I thought was really funny and not completely incorrect. But
But
Bonesy was
yeah,
male and not a goddess.
yeah.
So it was like really funny to see where everyone's minds went with that.
It was good. I really enjoyed it too. And it's gonna be great to kind of throw a couple of these things back. And once again, as with everything, right? It's gonna be bigger than it was before. So what was endgame stuff first time around is now your prologue
Yeah,
because it's the sequel, right? And things will be different and things that you saw before as being big and bad isn't going to be as big and bad,
yeah,
right? What
like our
was,
characters in the
you know,
past seeing Drow is like holy shit. Whereas
Drow.
now it's
Right
like
now it's
Drow are
commonplace.
wandering around like it's no big deal. And
I mean, dragons are bankers now. People are things are cool. It's like whatever.
yeah, the
They
world's
run
evolved to
they
this
run
more
corporations.
accepting
Like there's not as
place
many of
and
them. Magic's not as common as it was before. Some of these mystic like big creatures and stuff aren't as commonplace, but they all
right.
play a role. They're all playing a role in the society. They exist and you know of them, but they're no longer the big bads that you thought they were. They're
No.
just playing their role in society.
Yeah, and now we have
Only
like
deal with
guns
yeah,
and there's like airships aren't like a
yeah.
holy shit. It's like a oh look, there goes an airship. Kind of
Think of it.
yeah.
Cannons and an airship would be a great equalizer against dragons.
Yeah. So
Like it would
you
be a
definitely would not be seeing dragons as much because of those sorts of things like
right? Technology evolves so to combat magic, and vice versa. Magic would evolve to combat the growing
technology and
technology.
yeah,
It's gonna be fun. It's
it's
gonna
going to
be
be really
fun.
fun. I'm so excited for all of this.
Can't wait
It's going to
for the
be a
Royal
much
Airship.
different world.
I'm excited for airship battles.
There may or may not be one. I don't want to like toss that out, but I keep mentioning airships because I'm very
I know
excited at one point to mention an airship. It may come earlier than I expect. It may not come as early
it
as I
will. You're
expect,
super
but
excited.
I am
it's
really excited.
it's gonna be the opening scene.
Well, maybe not the opening scene, but yeah, I want things like that. Thing like because Whisper Hills is going to be turning essentially into a metropolis based on the
Hmm.
size of it. So it would be maybe not a capital city, but it would definitely be like a metropolis sort of area and like a
It's a city
place.
state. It's its own. It's
Yeah,
massive. It's L.A. You know what I mean? It's LA could be its own state. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. It's
Because
like
it's the population of it alone could justify it being its own thing, right? It's just massive.
Yeah, it'd be like gameplay wise, I would consider it like an Orgrimmar from World of Warcraft. It's like an underground place that everyone knows of, but it doesn't really matter because everyone goes there because it's like a
Yeah,
big place where you have to go sell your wares and be at
yeah,
anyways.
yeah. It's just it is.
Like
It's
you're
its
gonna
own.
see monsters when you go there, but it's like
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
cool.
next biggest place to go to. Straz, when you said cannons on an airship, my mind immediately went to Ganema. What if he holds an action to wait for incoming fire, casts catapult, and reverses a shot?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well,
I like
then,
it.
again, that's one of those things. Roll the dice.
Roll the dice.
You fail
Roll
that
the dice.
roll.
Rule
Well,
of cool.
yeah.
Oh,
Are you
oh,
all gonna have parachutes? Probably not. Why? Because we're not that far into the future yet. But you got you got feather falling boots. You might survive it.
yeah.
But you guys also have a flying bird woman. Oh, she doesn't fly actually. She
No,
has
she
wings.
doesn't.
So,
You call that
you
flying?
could.
I call it falling with style.
Yup, it would definitely be flying with style. She doesn't fly.
My God will protect me. You all will die.
Hopefully you guys have a good magic user.
There we go. This is not going to be the voice for Lysandros. I feel this would be too ridiculous.
But would it be though?
My God will protect me. You guys are all fucked.
I gotta come up with a good character and a good
Oh,
voice for it.
yeah. I don't think I'm gonna go campy with the voice. But he's a pretty serious character. He's not a comical character.
I think he would be considered to be comical by those who didn't really cons.
Lysandros?
Well, for some
I think.
characters, I believe based on like his belief system, could find
Yeah,
him rather comical
yeah.
if they don't
But
believe
he's
or even are aware of his belief systems.
oh yeah. But he's got some real dark shit going on in his head. He's I've talked about it a little bit with Shadow because she knows about Lysandros's kind of negativity.
Oh, I'm so
Just
excited
because
to
she would
see
be
this
aware.
stuff develop
But
in
I
the
don't want to
game.
share it yet with
No,
everybody
no, no,
else
no,
because
no.
he's
Save some
definitely
things.
a
I'm really excited for some of this stuff to
yeah,
develop in game. Um,
yeah,
oh God, I'm trying to like. I don't want to give away too many spoilers. We've given away quite a bit.
yeah,
Um, yeah. Do you or does anyone else have any questions that they want to ask that
yeah,
I may or may not be able to answer depending on because next weekend is campaign 2
yeah.
next Sunday, so it's like a week away.
Excited.
Straz, don't say too much. I'm definitely taking notes here.
Yeah,
Just remember, everyone, no metagaming. You can keep this
yeah,
information to yourself.
yeah. We
And it
will.
may or may not help
Oh,
the development of
yeah.
your character, but.
We might go after the first episode. We might just be like, "Holy cow, this is going completely different than we thought it was going to go.
And
Let's take
swap
it
it
this
up.
way."
Yeah. Yeah, we
That's
do that. We've done that a couple times, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
We just a complete like, oh wait, no, we need to change all of this. This isn't going to work anymore. We need to change this, and this.
And it works. And especially when it
Yeah,
comes to the rose on the piano, it's a good turning point for the characters and for the game because it's a one shot, sure, but it still involves the same characters, and then your character is poofed doing his own
yeah,
thing, but then my character comes in and
and
kind
can
of
steer things.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's really fun when we do these one shots because it can definitely change like how the main campaign runs, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's completely
yeah,
metagame to go in said direction because we've had a couple times with your one shots where I was like completely shocked.
yeah,
But then it changes our characters for forever. Like I think it was either the first one or the second one where the gentleman that the group was trying to help actually killed himself because they didn't help
yeah.
him actually. They blamed him.
Mhm.
And that changed a lot of our characters' personalities based on how that went.
Yeah. Um. So we're good with Slag's focus being on Vulcan slash Hephaestus instead of Goddess of Light and Love. Yes. And Lysandros is cool with it because he just knows that Vulcan is just one of the pieces of the Goddess of Light and Love anyway. So thank you for your worship, my friend.
Yeah, because that is I believe that's the god of blacksmithing, right?
Yeah. Gods of the Forge.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm not. I have obviously I'm
Yeah.
not googling anything, but as far as my base knowledge, I believe he is
Because we
a blacksmithing god.
yeah, just a piece of the Goddess of Light and Love.
And since he would have a shop within Whisper Hills, then clearly Lysandros would see him as a follower of the goddess of light and love regardless because
Yeah.
he's in that township.
Call her by any name, she loves you just as much. It's a pretty chill religion. It's basically like agnostic in a lot of ways because
Right.
all the gods are pieces of the goddess of light and love. And as long as you pay your tithe and as long as it trickles to my church one way or another, I'm cool with it.
It
And if you're
works.
paying taxes while being in Whisper Hill, you're paying my church. So
Yeah,
we
it's
love
like
you.
following the Greek gods. Oh, Freya, well you must believe in Zeus. Oh, Loki, you must believe in Zeus. It's the same, you know what I mean? Like because of Zeus, all these other gods and goddesses exist.
Yeah.
If you don't believe Zeus, then you can't believe these gods. It's like the same sort of like spectrum
Yeah.
essentially. I like it.
Yeah, it's one of the ways Christianity was able to merge in with to India so well is it just became that uh, certain groups of Hindus turned it into a monotheistic religion to survive.
Ah, that makes
It's
sense
really
then.
interesting that and it's all pieces of yeah. There's going to be a lot of philosophical and theological debates between the characters
Yeah,
back and
and I
forth,
just want
and
you guys
it's
to know, like, unless like the conversation exceeds 20 minutes, I absolutely love when our characters actually converse with one another or even debate against one another. Like the way Bonesy and Shadow would have, or Creed would have some debates and or conversations, or even like Bonesy and Carr would go off and have singular conversations, which obviously would take up like 10 to 15 minutes of our actual gameplay. I still really appreciated that because it develops a story, it develops the characters. It's just like a movie or a television show. You're not just going to let these two characters be like, yes, yes, and on to the show. No, these
yeah,
characters have to create a standpoint and develop themselves with each other, and that furthers their relationship to continue on within the story. And that's kind of how I like to run my campaigns is I view everything that you guys are doing as a live action film.
yeah, yeah. Character dynamics exactly.
Yeah,
It's it's needed. Um, that being said, like this is a really large group, so
it
as
is.
we move forward, if you feel like your character is not getting enough time to shine, let us know
Yeah, either one
because
of us, and we will just be like,
we can
noted.
DM it in where the story focus will be on your character, or we can railroad it in character, and that's one of the perks about having a player who is co-DMing, right? No different than when Corey jumps into the one shots and vice versa. She can steer me to steer the conversation
Yeah,
without breaking the flow, right?
which really helps like a lot.
Yeah. It also
Because
lets us railroad certain things, which also helps with the flow. It keeps things on
it
track.
it does.
And
Like the character Urian, because Steve is very soft spoken and quiet usually, whether he wants to talk or not, he just doesn't talk enough, which is why I decided to steer his character to have a story within the campaign in order to develop that character more. Whether he talked more or not was irrelevant, but his character got to have a development within the story so people could understand that character more instead of just being like, why do they have a damn pier and why do we not talk about it? Like, it needed to be known. Like, we had people had questions, I had questions, our players had questions.
Yeah.
So I had to steer our story slightly in order for Urian then to answer some of those questions for not only our party, but our watchers as well.
And that's the thing, like, um, if the people watching want to focus on something more, we're gonna steer it towards that as well. If we start playing and people are like, "Oh my gosh, Lysandros is so fucking boring. Why does he exist?" Right? We would probably steer away from a lot of that.
Yeah, and then we could
We
like
don't want to
push
lecture
a
on religion.
no, but then we could push like a different agenda
Yeah,
with him, like a hobby that he has outside
yeah,
of that, something like that.
exactly.
Like everyone was really loving the romance between Creed and Abraxas, and
Mhm.
obviously Abraxas came in really late in the campaign, and that little romance that did happen was very short lived, but like people wanted more of it, so we
Yeah,
allowed more of it to happen. Same with the Parcheesi. Everyone
yeah,
absolutely loved the lure and the secrecy of the Parcheesi.
mhm,
It was a big deal.
yeah,
So we will definitely play to those strengths and or fears and or weaknesses depending on what they are. Like I Fire isn't in this chat right now, but based on the session 0 that we had that she was a part of, she was very shy. So I'm obviously going to try and pull her out of that shyness a bit more. The same as I did with Creed. Creed
mhm,
was a very shy character in the beginning, and I definitely made sure Creed was not a shy character by the end. And Mystic as well. Mystic
yeah,
became a little more of a strong force near the end, which is really nice to see.
yeah. I mean, I can sit down and I can fill an hour of me just rambling. We've done that.
We
Some of
have done
our
that.
Terraria sessions is literally just me rambling for an hour.
But you're good at it. You're a good talker. You're very charismatic, and you're
Yeah.
like you're able to keep a conversation going. Whereas a
Mhm.
lot of people like they state the subject and their opinion of said subject, and then it's a pause between the next subject in which they work. But you seem to have like this weird flow where no matter what the subject or topic is, you're able to just steer conversation perfectly always. It
I
makes it
have
easy.
it's a lot of random information. Um, it's just the way it is. Like I just completely can ramble and just jive. Look at last Terraria session where I was just name a movie or name a song, and I would just read out the lyrics and give the description of what I think the song's about. Did
True.
you catch that one? Like
I
that was
did. Yeah.
yeah, and
I
it was
watched it. I wasn't there, but I watched
yeah,
it.
and I just would just name a song and I would just read the lyrics out loud and I would give my idea of what was actually going on. And most of the time it was way off base and inappropriate one way or another.
Well, that being
But we
said,
filled
for
it out.
anyone who's new to D&D squared, we are very inappropriate regardless. We try our
Yeah.
best to be uh
Oh no, don't Strauss is worried about stepping on toes. You don't have to worry about stepping on
oh,
toes.
no worries about that.
Yeah.
How do I properly describe how we are? Like we don't purposely try to be offensive, but we're offensive regardless.
We're um
Perverted.
yeah,
We're
we're more perverse.
perverse. Yeah.
There's some topics we don't that we stay very open PC on. And that's
Yeah.
because we but then there's topics that are no holds barred. Normally it's just we're pervy. We're pervy
We're
more
we're
than
we're
anything
quite
else.
perverse more than anything else, yeah. And
Um
that's like a group effort I've noticed.
perverse and gore. You know, we like watching cheesy horror films. We like that level of cheese with dark but light-hearted at the same point in time.
But it's because we appreciate the creativity
Yeah.
behind it as well, and the
Mhm.
idea and the effort. And I think that kind of like because we're old horror fans, like we love the
Yeah.
subculture.
Perverse with common sense. I mean,
To an extent.
Yeah, we all have. I mean, we're all very open-minded people. I think we're all pretty much on the same page and on a lot of topics going on in the world. And we don't even talk about the stuff going on in the world on
I
purpose,
try to avoid that stuff
right? But
on purpose, but
we all have similar senses of humor. We all have similar pop culture knowledge in different degrees. And I think that's what really binds us together.
that and we're like we all really enjoy like the same subcultures essentially
Mm-hmm.
like obviously we all play D&D, but beyond that we also play other games like Terraria, Ark, Valheim.
Yeah.
We're big nerds and a lot of us have a lot of the same general like categories in which we like not everyone understands your my knowledge of
Yeah.
complete B horror movies,
Yeah.
but some of them, like some of us still enjoy our B horror movies, whether it's as deep as you and I go with it is irrelevant, but then there's like the comics, there's the anime, there's, like we're complete nerds and geeks to our cores, just different
Yeah.
subcategories,
Like I'm
which
not
is
really
really
big on
nice.
anime. Never have been.
Yeah.
It's
And see,
you are.
I
You're all
watch
about
it
that.
every single
Yeah.
day. Yeah, every single day.
Yeah.
It's like my go-to. Says my left or my right arm that has
Yeah.
all the Studio Ghibli tattoos.
But I do like Afro Samurai though. That's my favorite series.
So good,
Love it.
so
Love
hilarious,
it. One's my
so
all-time
fucking
favorite.
good.
All-time favorite. And soundtrack by the RZA, you can't go wrong.
No, you can't go wrong.
Beautiful. And
Hey,
well brought up, by the way, babe.
thank you,
That's so good.
dude. Did I tell you? I might have told you, but I feel like I should mention it on this stream since I did mention on my 12-hour stream. Did you see these lovely sodas here?
I do. They look delicious.
We have two of them, and they're by this company called the Soda Pop Bros. They are Windsor located, but they're bringing their way through the rest of Canada and through the States. Um, they created these two flavors, which I haven't actually tried yet. I still have promo photos and videos to do with these, but we have Vitality and Mana. Let me turn off my little ring light here so you guys can actually not have a little glare. Um,
Ooh,
and the Soda Shop Bros will be sponsoring D&D Squared for their second campaign.
nice.
And
This is
these two
exciting.
sodas are what we will be pushing the most.
Nice.
Because
So what are the
D&D and, you know,
let me
Vitality,
ask
Mana.
nice. Let me ask some questions. What are the flavors? What are the flavors written on the bottle? Like
Funny story. The flavors are not written down, but hold on, let me get my
oh
glasses because I'm old and they might have a flavoring listed in their ingredients.
yeah.
Um, that's why I was saying I haven't yet tried them, so I don't know, and I can't try them until I'm done my product commercials with them.
Yeah.
But
Because
they're
I've had some of their stuff before and it's
so
amazing.
good.
I've had their cream soda, which was out of this world, and I had their uh, spicy ginger
Their
beer.
spicy
The
ginger beer is so
It's
freaking good.
so amazing.
Did you have the face melter or did you just have
Yes,
the
face
regular?
melter. Thank you. It's on the
You're
top of
welcome.
my head, the name of it.
I have a
And I
face
felt so
melter
bad.
here.
I couldn't remember
So
the name of
good.
it. I felt so bad. But face melter. It's like habanero. Is that what the do you have, or is it ghost pepper? I can't remember what the
I believe it's habanero.
yeah. And it's just it burns so good.
It's so delicious though. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Sorry
I
guys.
I I need to get some more because I really want to experiment with making Moscow mules out of them.
Well, funny story because they will be sponsoring D&D Squared and hi hello. Um Jeremy, the owner of Soda Pop Bros is going to be dropping me off a half skid of all of their flavors, but more of just the Vitality and Mana since that's what we're being sponsored by. Um, so I will be able to sell you some if you want. We'll have some
Yes.
here sometime this week because now we're at the beginning of a new week.
No. Because I'm
Um,
going to experiment with their stuff and make cocktails.
so
I
good.
think that's going to be my.
Their ingredients read triple filtered carbonated water, pure cane sugar. That's why I like it. It's cane sugar. It's so
So
good.
good.
Citric acid, artificial flavor, natural and artificial strawberry. Ah, I
Oh,
was
there we
right.
go.
I guessed
It's going to
that.
be
I
berry.
guessed that when I did my 12-hour stream. And then I guessed, I'm not going to look yet, I guessed the blue one to be either blueberry or blue raspberry.
Oh, blue
So
raspberry.
let's
I have
find
such an
out.
idea for blue raspberry. If it's a blue raspberry, I've already
Uh,
got a cocktail idea.
Triple filtered carbonated water, pure cane sugar, citric acid, lemon lime flavor. All right.
Oh.
So, huh. Lemon and
Mm-hmm.
lime flavor. So I don't really know how this is gonna taste.
Yeah, that sounds like a citrus blend, almost
I'm
like
curious.
blue
Blue
curacao.
or blue cacao.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that how it's
So
pronounced? Is it cacao?
yeah, unfortunately,
Sure.
it's a really weird name. I know. It doesn't sound pleasant, but it's
I've
still alright.
never known how that's.
You're welcome. So yeah, they're gonna be sponsoring campaign 2, and obviously since Soda Pop Bros are they've have a shop in Windsor and they're trying to branch out throughout Canada and Michigan. They don't have the most of money, but what they do have and are willing to put out, they're willing to share with us. And I think, um, based on some of our Twitch income, I will be putting that towards us getting a team T-shirts that are gonna be saying Soda Pop Bros on the back, and it'll say D&D squared on the front, and then we all have matching outfits if we want them,
Sweet.
as well as I'm personally gonna be sending a bottle each, if not 2 bottles each of these, to every player on our crew to have. So you can
Yeah.
drink one and keep one as a keepsake. Because who does not want to keep one as a keepsake? They're
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for the cheers, Lord Blunt.
Oh, this is exciting.
So yeah,
So
big
much fun.
big things for campaign 2 are coming, and I'm very excited. And as a lot of you know, that I do work with London Comic Con. This year we're going to be here in September. However, that being said, next year I have foot in the door regarding maybe some live D&D time, whether it's us or
Oh,
another campaign group, I'm not sure, but there will be most likely next London Comic Con a D&D live play group.
that will be fun.
I'm very excited for that. So excited! I
Yeah.
can't put too many details into that, and nor can I guarantee it, but it is in the
Literally
works.
just campaigns hosted by people who believe in rule of cool. It is just shenanigans.
It's going to be great. And
We
even if
make rule lawyers pull out their hair.
we do that. I love playing by the rule of
Oh,
cool. Like when
it's so
Bonesy
great.
seduced my hag. I know we
I
talk about
felt
this
so bad
all the
about that.
time on
I
camera.
know, because I felt bad about it after when
It
I
was
realized,
so
oh,
eloquently done, though. I mean, obviously, like, we know that polymorph doesn't work in that capacity, but the
yeah,
way that we played it in the story, it was too good to just be like, polymorph doesn't
yeah,
work that way. No, it didn't matter. Bonesy seducing a hag was the best thing ever. And let's be honest, if Bonesy was unable to seduce that hag, the entire campaign could have been at risk. Because those hags are pretty fucking OP.
yeah.
So it just worked out for the team that you were just able to seduce that one bitch. And in
Mhm.
style. It was so good.
Yeah,
And
so
I
good.
I love the way that we play by the rule of cool. I mean,
Yeah.
we discussed this again like our last time that we discussed it, and it's like I have definitely nuked monsters for you guys out of fear of killing you guys.
Yeah.
But I definitely wanted you guys to fight that particular monster at that particular point because it made sense based on the area and what you guys were going through and stuff. So I definitely had to nuke a lot of things and fake a
Yeah,
lot of roles, but
but
you
still
guys
give
lived
it the
through it.
story. And that's the little tiny railroading that needs to be done to get your story through.
Oh, definitely.
But there's only so much you can fudge. That's the and then
No, I've had to like fudge some high rolls as lower rolls quite a few times. Because I was like, nat 20, I'm like, ooh. It
nope,
was
that was a
actually a
14.
9.
So,
Stuff like that. I'm like,
oh,
that
you
would
mean
kill the whole
14
team.
doesn't beat your AC? Oh, I didn't realize that. You guys are rolling so good.
I know, because I always have the character sheets up, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
like, damn. I'm like, oh, that'll kill them. Maybe it's lower than their AC. Stuff like that. We do that. That's really cool. I'm not about nuking characters. I mean, if it happens, whew, that took my breath away. If it happens, it happens. However, sometimes in the story, it's just not the time to die.
Mhm.
Like,
And then he cheese a fight. You let Jeffrey swim out and teleport a man to another dimension.
exactly. Stuff like that. Like, I can't kill Bonesy. Like, everyone loved Bonesy, but I could definitely kill off some of Bonesy's
Oh,
fucking monsters.
you and I both had a contingency plan for Bonesy.
We did. It worked so well.
It was gonna be if I feel like we can spoil this. If Bonesy ever died throughout the campaign, he was just gonna be dead, but then come back to life like 3 days later with no memory of what was going on.
Because he was essentially a fracture of a goddess.
He could he would just wake up with no memory.
Which I loved. You know what? I'm actually gonna go back real quick and find like some of the Whisper stories
Oh,
because
we didn't end up going that route with it because it just never
it just
happened.
no, it just kind of progressed in its own little way, which I still adored immensely. Where is I have a lot of writing. As you guys can see, like I actually write my notes on paper. My whole story is written on paper.
Yeah, I
Um,
have a little digital one that I keep track of.
I like doing it by hand. I don't know. I'm old-fashioned that way. There's Yusa, Fiolan. Oh, here's where you guys were in your metal cells, the warps of the sun. It's the day of the public execution, which was all just in your heads. Um, there's Talonstad when you guys exploded the mountain pathway between the Drow. The Gala. We come into the War of Nations. And where is... And there's all of Whisper Hills, the notes that I have. I know I have the notes for Whisper near the end because I needed to make sure her story was done with you guys. Shady Creek. Smoke Daddy. Alright, that's what you guys were calling
Smoke Daddy.
Smoke Daddy.
Yeah, that's well, Urians.
Urian's dad was
Yeah.
Smoke Daddy. King Grelibin. Ah, Whisper. Whisper, formerly known as the goddess of Harmonia, now considered to be a demi-goddess, goddess of harmony and concord. Has the ability to influence all forms of peace, including mental, physical, spiritual, and conceptual. The ability to,
Conceptual piece.
yeah, conceptual peace. I know, I wrote that. It was good. It was a good writing I have
Yeah,
here.
that's good. I like that.
The ability to end all conflicts, whether it's fistfight, gunfight, mass riots, or war. The ability to create world peace and hatred and aggression. Halt all aggression. She could do peace empowerment, serenity inducement. Um,
Yeah, she was
she
just a powerful little thing.
she was,
Just powerful.
but due to the lack of belief, like, you know how people put in, like, for fairies, if you don't believe them, they lose their power. That's kind of where I was going. Like, the less that people believed in gods and goddesses and believed one true god, the more that she was losing her power. However, her jealous husband as well kind of outed her based on her lack of belief in wanting to have a son, which she was unable to give him. So she broke a part of herself off to create a son, so she was no longer alone, which was Bonesy. Um, so yeah, like Whisper is Sherlock's mother. She doesn't remember much. She's just driven by maternal instinct and is enthralled by Sherlock, enamored by Sherlock. Um, when slash if Bonesy ever dies, she will be very sad and it will rain everywhere. However, on the third day, she'll be able to bring him back to life, but however, won't have any memory.
And the
Like, this is
cycle
all written
repeats.
in my
Yeah,
notes. It's like,
this
it's
is
so
like
good.
the old like first draft of these
It
characters,
is. Like,
and
these are like
yeah,
so old, these old notes.
it was supposed to be like this self-repeating, constant struggle that would never be kind of achieved.
Yeah.
This never-ending cycle.
And she
Um,
was just like always driven to just kind of help you,
yeah,
but didn't quite understand why. Because even though you were essentially a fractured piece of her, she couldn't remember that you were essentially her son, nor that you could remember that she was her mother. So it was like
yeah,
a
and that
thing.
was that the reincarnation and the constant coming back was way before he became super fucked up.
It's
Once he
true.
became, we evolved away from that with the butchering of Bonesy.
Who then eventually wanted to just be human, and
Yeah.
then started patching himself
And then
into
he just decided
humanity.
he could be more than both. That he just he started off wanting to be human, and then he realized he was way more powerful than both.
And
Then
became a
and
higher
started his
being.
own religion. That's that was Bonesy's storyline there in a
But it
nutshell.
worked. And I mean, look
But
at
it
Whisper
evolved. It
Hills.
yeah, it evolved, and it stopped being the original. You know, yeah, the Bonesy Bros will be pleased. Yeah,
You're right, Lord Blunt. The Leviathan definitely should have wiped you guys
yeah.
out. That was definitely like a rule of cool for me. I had to make sure I nuked that Leviathan quite heavily, which is why Jeffrey was the
Able to swim to it. Jeffrey, no!
I had to sacrifice Jeffrey. Not only was Jeffrey like way overpowered for you guys to even have, but I was like, he is terrible to have in the campaign, and the Leviathan is going to kill you guys. I'm like, let's just both powerful things go and die together.
Yeah, yeah. Off you go. And just to answer Strauss's question, no, the answer is far more fucked up than that. It's not that easy.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Yeah, when
it's
dealing with the gods and the weird shenanigans, it is way more fucked up than Whisper has power and Bonesy lives. It is way more fucked up than that.
yeah, and so I do believe a lot of that story is still gonna come
Five
out
hundred,
in
500 years is a long time, and shit changes. If shit changes for humans, it changes for the gods. There is going to be
it's
some
true.
fucked up shenanigans.
Yeah, and like I said, like the only reason why Whisper did what she did was because she lost a lot of her powers based on people not believing in her enough. So it's like it's in my mind she was kind of like the fairy lore where if you don't like the Tinkerbell essentially, if you don't believe me, I will cease to exist. So instead of her ceasing to exist, she broke herself to not be alone and have someone that will always believe in her. However, the two of them lost their memories based on the
Yeah.
way that she did it. But now they have a whole religion, so lots of people believe in them. So they won't
Yeah.
ever technically be forgotten, and therefore perhaps could have even more power than they previously had before in campaign 1. But we'll never
Or
know.
it's completely fucked up because gods are more screwed up than people. There's going to be some shenanigans.
There is going to be a
Some
lot of
very heavy
shenanigans.
shenanigans. And it's
I'm
not
very
a
excited.
goofy. And the concept of living and dying in power is all thrown asunder because shit gets fucked.
And like, yeah, you guys just won't know the level of severity until we get to that point. So
Yeah. Yeah, Fred Stress it right. That's simple, and we don't do simple here. No, there's gonna be some very convoluted and crazy fever dream induced concepts that are being thrown around.
I'm excited to see some dream
Yeah.
sequence sort of stuff.
There's gonna be some real cosmic bullshit.
I'm excited. Also for campaign 2, I mean, obviously it's not going to be like an every time we play sort of thing, but I'm thinking maybe every once in a while we're going to have everybody that's in the area come to one area to
Area.
what
Say area again.
area. Any hoodles. Yeah, so I'm thinking we could have like on our bigger battles that I have planned when they come up. Um, I was thinking anyone that's able to get here to my house, we will do a live map, live
Ooh.
character show because Urian, aka Steve, paints figures, and I know some people that are willing to donate some D&D maps to us, as well as the people that were willing to stream. We have some
Yeah.
people for campaign 2 that are willing to put into campaign 2, but I need to make sure that we have enough players here. So
Yeah.
I
Random
mean,
leather props.
oh,
Maybe, you know.
excited for some costuming. I'm
Yeah.
like, I have to say I'm hoping it's not expected, but I am hoping that there's a lot more role playing in campaign 2 than there was in campaign 1, just based off of all the fun that we've had with these one shots over the
Yeah.
course of the last few weeks. Like that's
The
been really fun.
the improv exercises. Like I it was a good project, and I think it definitely helped everybody who played get more comfortable with just the improv element of D&D
Yeah,
because
like
there was
the
no
like
focus on character building. It was
none
all just
whatsoever.
interacted with the clue mystery. I didn't even tell you what time period it took place in.
Yeah, no, and we all just
And
kind of
everybody
like
just
we
kind of
all followed
settled on a
suit.
and everybody just kind of settled on this quasi anywhere between 1930 and 1970s esque
It just
story.
worked, and it just worked because
Um,
you literally did not
yeah,
say anything about a date or anything. You're
I
just
just
like,
gave
you're this color, this is what your
yeah,
character's name is.
yeah. This is your color. That's all. There was only two statements I was sent. Pick your color, and everybody picked their color. And then the very next thing I sent to everybody was, "You want to kill this person." So everybody was instantly turned against each other. That's all it was, and everything that came out of that was just from that random thing. And all the other prep I did was came up with a rough idea of what the actual murder was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the Innsmouth, that was
Yeah.
hilarious and awesome. Everyone stayed in character for that. Matt's character was hilarious.
Hilarious.
I fucking
I
love
was so impressed. I was
Marjorie.
so impressed with
Love
that.
love Marjorie forever. Like that character will go down in history in my
Yeah.
brain.
He blew my mind with that character. It was so fucking good. I was not expecting it.
I wasn't
It
expecting
was
it either. He had the hat, he had it all down. It was so good.
he
So
had a
good.
catchphrase. Like it was it was amazing. That was a character that I would actually watch on I want that character in something that is forever.
hundred
You
percent.
know,
And
I
and like
want
the banter between
yeah.
Ryland and Shadow, like stuff like that, we never got to see that amount of character
No.
development and role playing in campaign one. But I'm so happy that everyone's now so comfortable with each other
Mhm.
and themselves. I so hope that campaign two is going to be equally as fun with some
Oh,
role playing.
I'm I'm seeing a lot less combat and a lot more interactions. You know, instead of having us fight a set of guards, it actually is a full back and forth interaction. You
Yeah,
know, if
like
you're
the
gonna
way
try
you
the
guys
charm,
were with the
you
guards in ugh, where is that place called now? Oh my god. Blooming Grove?
yeah, where it's
Instead
just,
of fighting those two elven guards, you guys were just
yeah,
like
talk our
bantering
way out
them.
of shit. Yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
I want to see way more of that. Way just because combat's combat, but it's so much fun having those back and forths and getting out of something.
And when you did the 80s like camp,
Yes.
and like the amount of like how even how everyone was all split up, there was like break-ins, there was like weird not weird, but like everyone had like their own elaborate ways of sneaking
Yeah.
around things, and it was all role play. It was so good.
And so many of those ideas we didn't come up with until it actually started. The coat or the head camper being Matt's father, right? Like that wasn't
That seemed like it was
that
just in the
was a
heat of the
joke
moment.
on the boat. That was a joke on the bus, and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm running with this.
It
No,
was
I'm not
so
just saying I
good,
fucked your mother. No, I'm actually just his stepdad,
and a
and
dick
just
about
double
it.
down on that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was so good.
the the mixtape, the
Oh my god,
mixtape
yes.
romance drama, right? Talk about 80s teen movie. Yeah, there was gonna be a fight over a mixtape.
Of course. How isn't there? And then like Matt's character went off to the island, and I was just like, meh. And then like Queen's character was like, whoa, like questioned quite literally everything, and like
Yeah,
I like that sort of like that dynamic, all the role
yeah,
playing, all the different
it's so good.
personalities. It was so good, and I'm hoping
Yeah,
that we can bring a lot of that fun into campaign two and
yeah,
have not that campaign one was severely serious, but it was very gamey and less role play, and I'm
yeah,
hoping that we can bring the two to like a nice 50-50 level.
yeah. Because I'm all about the role play. I
I
am
love the role
all
playing.
that. That's
And
what.
like
Yeah,
you and Rylan, like even I saw Shadow get into it the last time we played, like
yeah.
totally doubled
Oh,
down
the
on her
one shots,
character.
double down. It was
It was
great.
so
I
good.
love the double down with the little costuming. I like the idea of little costuming.
Yeah, and like so I'm obviously you guys won't want to cosplay every Sunday, but if you guys even like
Lysandros isn't bad. Lysandros isn't bad. I need a like bonesy blue scarf to
yeah,
be
like
like this thing. Like that's
one thing that you could wear every campaign that would showcase like your character within yourself. Even if you don't want to do the voice, like wear the same coat every time that your character would wear, or if your character gets a new coat, start wearing that new coat every time.
yeah.
Something like that I would think would really be fun to tie you and your character together in with the gameplay.
Mhm. That's one of the reasons I actually made my character very close to my own aesthetic. I mean, a little bit younger, but he's dark haired, right?
Right, so
He's
you
he's
you will
human,
suit your character.
human. So I don't have to wear ears or anything like that, and so it's very much closer to the image you're going to be seeing because I'm lazy and I don't want to get dressed up all the time. You know, so I made my character just kind of look a little bit like me.
Right. So then we have like a half elf sorcerer. So essentially, that half elf sorcerer could just
Yeah,
wear the same cloak or wear the same
yeah.
house coat. And then we have a dwarf. You know,
We'll take
like,
you out at the knees. It's cool.
yeah. And then we have like an elf druid. So you're always in shrouded in I don't know leaves or
Floral.
something like
Yeah,
I don't know like just throwing things out. But like I would love to see more of that
yeah,
in our campaign
yeah,
because that role playing that you introduced us to with the D&Ding in the last few weeks has really been a highlight and fucking hilarious and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like D&D is
While
fun
still
as it
being
is.
dark. While still
Yeah,
being dark. Like all of those plots were super dark.
Innsmouth
We
was
had this
super dark.
but we still had this amazing line of comedy that was woven through with a couple of the characters. So it worked very well.
Yeah, like based on the way we play games and we tend to derail stuff, like it just makes it that much more fun no matter how dark the story actually
Mm-hmm.
is. We're able to put our own personal humor into the situations. So that's my hope for campaign 2. More role playing, you guys. I love it.
Yeah.
And it helps with the
I'm
character development as well.
mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, uh, I'll just, for instance, oh, Dindrain does this. No, 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 no. Like,
Hey
play that
guys,
character
guys, I
instead of
have an
saying your
idea.
character
Let's go
does
flip this
something.
button. Look at this button. I'm gonna go push this button.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's Dindrain.
Dindrain
Yeah.
is pretty crazy like
That
that.
was my Dindrain impression. I think it was pretty damn good.
She's a little more excited and she's a little more crazy. We should go do the thing. Push the button. Push, 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 push the button. So, like, you know, like, I want a little more of that because it's fun actually to play your character as your character would be played instead of saying my character would do this, which I'm okay with. Like it depends on the comfortability of our players, obviously, but I'm just basing it on the hilarity and fun that we had in
Yeah. And
like
sometimes your character just has to go do something, you know?
yeah,
That's the reality of it. Some things it's really hard to role play with,
that is true.
especially when it's like when you're talking about giving characters looks or trying to be sneaky about things. Like you
Right, like
can't.
when you're describing your character, it's going to be so hard
Yeah.
to first person that like
Are you serious? Look at this hair. Everybody knows I'm special.
You're so, but you're into theater. You are an actual actor in like you know.
No, 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 no. I am involved in theater, but I'm not an actual actor. I'm just pretending to be one.
I don't know. I've
Yeah.
seen you play
No.
quite a few different characters, sir.
I there's oh I I'll save the story for another day. It's such a humble brag. You were there for it.
I was.
It
I
was
know what you're
it's
talking about.
the pause line. Oh, let's do it more like that. Oh, oops. Yeah,
Hey, and it just works out.
yeah, yeah. It's in the final cut.
It's true. It is. You're welcome.
Um, so many little things. So many little things. Um,
It's fun. I can't believe we've
big
been
things
able to
coming. Big
chat
things
for
coming.
almost like 3 hours just
Yeah,
on our D&D shit.
but I think we got a lot covered, and I think we've got. I think that's a good place to call it. I mean, I think we're starting to talk off topic. That's
It's
why I
true.
think we
Yeah.
reached.
And we haven't had too many other questions. I think
Yeah,
everyone's just excited for us to spill the beans on other things that we're not willing to do. So,
yeah.
no spoilers because
No
next
spoilers.
Sunday is when I actually get to introduce everyone to the world, which I'm excited
Yeah.
about. And some
So it's
things that
gonna be
you
fun.
don't even know. I'm so excited about. So yeah, I think we'll end the stream here, and I just want to thank
Yeah.
everyone for joining us, and yeah, thanks everyone, and we'll see you guys all next week. Or if you are you doing Terraria tomorrow?
No, I will not be doing Terraria tomorrow
Okay,
because I had to move my the rehearsals for the importance of being to Monday. Because Tuesday I'm going to the Snotty Nose Res Kids concert, so
nice.
everything's been shifted around. But with that being said, I probably will be playing Cyberpunk tonight. I think I'm going to experiment with some stuff and play Cyberpunk.
And you're gonna do that on Twitch?
Yes,
All
I
right.
will be. I'll be live probably around 7:30. 7:30 ish.
Alrighty, sounds good. Well,
We'll say
everyone,
7.
tune in to Dylan Rune tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will see you guys here for the very first episode of Campaign 2
Which I'm
next
excited
Sunday,
for.
which is Easter Sunday, here at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm so
Bye
excited.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.